All right, let's get this workshop started. So welcome to the March 11th, 2026 Sister City Council workshop. First on the agenda is our 2025-2026 draft City Council goals. Mr. Wheeler.
Let's jump right into it. Good evening, City Council. So last month, 3 or 4 weeks ago, you had your City Council workshop to discuss and set your goals for the next fiscal year. And we met here across the street at the Park and Recreation District's conference room there and had a great morning, afternoon of discussing our existing goals that you set for the city, progress on those goals, and then reviewing sort of the major projects and initiatives that are underway, and then deciding as a body what goals to move forward into the next fiscal year. So what we did is took notes, listened to the council conversation at the goal setting retreat, and as kind of previewed at that meeting, the next steps were for us as staff to draft up what we heard as council goals and kind of wordsmith your ideas into your goal document. And so in the packet, we provided those draft goals for 2026-27. Just a kind of reminder, the way that we kind of covered goals or structure our goals is the council has key priorities, your top line priorities, and we kind of touched on that during the meeting, and then strategies within each of those priority areas, and then under those strategies are the different actions, right? More of the details of how we're going to accomplish those strategies. And so a couple of councilors had some suggestions that we provide a document that kind of highlighted what changed from the previous year. I thought that was good. That's what's in front of you there. In the packet is kind of the clean version of the draft goals. And you don't want to hear me read through everything, but this is the opportunity in this workshop to do any kind of further refinements. If staff missed anything, let us know. Hopefully you had time to kind of review this already, to compare against your notes. And then, if there's anything missing or anything different that you heard or thought should have come out of that goal setting retreat, this is really the workshop to kind of work on that, and then we'll bring back the goals for council adoption at the next meeting. And then, of course, that then feeds into the budget setting process where we come back with a proposed budget that reflects your goals. So jumping into wildfire mitigation, there was conversation about kind of changing the priority to, I think, expand to include public safety as part of the kind of the top line priority. There was even talk, do we have a preamble about public safety? So this is one way to do this in the most simple way is we basically added community safety to the priority areas of wildfire mitigation and community safety and resiliency. It used to just read wildfire mitigation, community resiliency. A lot of ands in there, but yes, exactly. So you picked up on that. So the purpose is this goal encompasses both not just wildfire, but overall community safety. So a couple of the changes under this first strategy. So existing strategy remained intact. There was talk about working with our key community partner, Sisters Camp Sherman, on the next step for our defensible space measures. And so we are anticipating having another joint meeting with the fire board coming up this spring. And we can already kind of start working with them on this goal, where we're looking at taking incremental measures for implementing defensible space for existing development in town. Second goal there, or action, was creating incentives to encourage property owners to implement defensible space on developed properties. So this is kind of a carryover. I think we changed the word options to incentives, based on sort of what we heard on how to encourage existing developed property to do some of the things that we may be talking about under that first bullet with the Camp Sherman Fire District. And then now on the third action item, that's getting into the design standards we were talking about in downtown, and focusing on how do we do some building hardening, especially when we're talking about new development, since the R327 code only applies to residential buildings. So how do we do more building hardening for our commercial buildings, and looking at it through the lens of design standards. And we made sure to keep in there maintaining the 1880s Western theme, so that not to change anything with our look and feel of downtown. Any questions on? Comments? Okay, great. Let's keep rolling. So the second strategy, no changes here. Continuing that, working with our partners. On the third strategy, a couple changes here under leading by example, and instead of being specific on the properties that we had previously identified with our wildfire mitigation plan, I think we just reflect that this changes year to year. This is kind of a continuing goal, that we just are good stewards of the public land, and that may rotate. Maybe well 2, or maybe the treatment plant again, and Edgington Road. There's a lot of different properties that we do wildfire mitigation. And then with the City Hall project, our hope is to finish the design in this fiscal year, fund it, and get approval to complete it, construct and complete it next year. So now moving on to housing, livability, and growth. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. That's not new. What I wanted to highlight there, I'm just adding to the slide. So it's Council kind of talked about the goal, like where does this land? I think what category? It could go under essential infrastructure even. One option here is elevate it to a strategy, recognizing that it's a long-term goal. There's not like a specific action. It's not like we're going to underground, downtown or this street or this particular area of town. It's more of a strategy that, in order to be more resilient, both electricity-wise, telecom, power, is to underground our utilities, and we'll look for opportunities when we can, right? Yeah, and I added the word redundancy in there too.
I've brought this up in the past, and a lot of it has to do with just beautification of downtown and trying to eliminate some of the overhead lines. And I think one of the concerns that I had is, I want it to be a strategy, but I also worry about overburdening development as well. I know the Baker Building had some large concerns about the cost of undergrounding in the alley behind their development, and we just have to be good stewards of the community by not putting it all on private business, and maybe there's ways in the future of sharing some of those costs. I don't know exactly how, but I do like that strategy as not just for wildfire mitigation, but downtown beautification development kind of rolls into a whole bunch of stuff. And I think that's why it fits in different categories, because it's not just one thing.
Well, also we need to remember that above ground lines aren't just in downtown.
No, I understand that, but we get a lot of development downtown, and while we're getting this development, we're partnering with people to have them underground it, and then CEC as well, obviously. So we just have to. It's a very squishy area because of all those different factors. That's all I'm saying.
I realize this is a pie in the sky statement, but it sure would be nice if both our state and national leaders would consider that the undergrounding of utilities is not just a safety, but it is a resiliency factor in terms of areas where you are likely to have either wildfires or high winds or tornadoes or earthquakes, that having these utilities underground is a matter of recovery as much as it is a matter of safety and protection. You get the economy back up faster and those kinds of things. So my neighbor ran a business where he had 14 flatbeds loaded with telephone poles. And he just had them sitting in his yard. When something would happen, his trucks would roll, and he made a lot of money on telephone poles. But I think my point is that we should keep our eye open at the national and federal level when we start looking at something that, when FEMA gets its feet back underneath it and things like that, looking at if there's some ability to utilize disaster
That's a question we brought up with,
Yeah.
and we brought that up with CEC in the past, but I think it's been a while since we've kind of asked them about that and see if there's any. But you're right. There's all snow load as well. Icing can bring them down, and as we were taking our downtown tours with the fire district, you know, just even it's difficult for them to move some of their apparatus down the alleys because of the
Poles and wires.
Poles and wires, yeah, which is a safety issue.
There's been so many, you know, recent liability, you know, issues and stuff with major power companies. You think there'd be more incentive for them to start making these improvements instead of the high cost it's costing them on these payouts. But I think, you know, it's the cost factor, but also they have other options. Right now, they're just doing the public safety power shutoffs, which is not great for our consumers either, right? And it'd be better if we spent more effort in undergrounding that.
I think that as we talk about a long-term strategy, staff and future councils, keeping an eye to opportunities that may pop up. We may have, it may come up, it may not, but I think there's more national awareness around some of this now than perhaps there has been in the past. Like I said, right now, we don't really have a functional FEMA agency for a variety of reasons, but I expect
There will be more emergencies. Yeah.
So I have a comment, but I don't really have a solution.
Okay.
So apologies. You know, we've put the safety word, you know, in the first grouping, but it also makes sense that some of the other safety items, pedestrian and bicycle safety, come under infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'm bringing it up is I could see if the public goes and looks for safety items, there may be some, they might look past that. But I don't have a solution for how to rename anything, so if someone had a solution over time, that would be great. But
Well, I was the one who brought it up in the workshop about having a public safety category, right? And I can see where those items do fall under other categories.
yeah,
Pedestrian and bike safety, and where should that go in wildfire? So if we're not going to make a place where all the safety stuff is going, then I'm fine with us not having community safety in this title, which kind of makes it a little longer than it needs to be and leads people to potentially think they're going to see everything under here regarding their safety.
yeah, it's almost like we need a grid. We don't really need a grid, but it's like,
Yeah,
we would tag it as both,
yeah.
you know.
So I think we originally had wildfire mitigation and resiliency, correct?
Yes,
And I'm fine with going back to that if anybody else has
I'm
other.
fine with it as well.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Thanks, Cheryl. Councilor Pellerin.
Now, we don't have an and and ampersand.
Yeah,
Now we just
sorry.
have
I
an
mean,
ampersand.
there could have been
Yeah.
a comma.
Or
And and.
Yeah, it's your choice.
Which one are you going to use, ampersand or and? I
Yeah.
kind of want to know.
What would you prefer?
No.
And we'll just keep facilitate and support the undergrounding and redundancy under wildfire category then?
Yeah.
Still keep
It's
it there?
resiliency.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
both.
Okay,
It's all.
that's good.
I mean,
got my brain rolling, which is not a good thing.
Uh-oh.
Sorry,
We
Gary.
only have 30 minutes for this topic.
Well, the question becomes, do we need somewhere, and maybe we don't, but you mentioned safety, and it's threaded through the document in many different areas. Does there need to be some statement
Yeah, that's the preamble Michael brought up.
in the preamble or something saying that safety is the ultimate concern of the council and the city as we go through our goals, safety of its residents. Safety will be threaded all the way through this document. Because I would say the livability, housing livability and growth and providing for all areas of our community is a safety issue as much as it is a livability issue. I mean, so you can look at it that way, and I don't know how to make that work either, but I hear what you're saying, and I pick up on the same concept that you did about safety down here. Leave it alone. Something more for you to think about.
yeah, and it changes year to year, right? Just like these categories change over time, and it's really just council preference on where do you want to park things. I mean, yeah, half of this list is safety issues. Infrastructure is safety, right? Safe water, safe streets, you know, and yeah, but then you have quality of life things too that not necessarily. So
We can
Okay,
make a
there's-
Venn diagram.
we're good.
I think we're
Okay,
good.
all right.
I think we're good.
Yeah.
A Venn diagram and all safety in the middle and then everything.
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably a discussion for a future day next
I'm-
year, something, a mission statement or something like that that the council can put together.
Yeah, Joe's good with the pie charts, so take it up a notch.
Pie charts.
Yeah.
All right, now housing livability and growth. First strategy, we expanded on the kind of the last part of that strategy to include all members of the community, and there was a lot of conversation about, you know, seniors, you know, and especially with like housing challenges and things too, that kind of make sure we address that as sort of mentioning that we're thinking about housing for workforce housing, affordable housing for seniors, some of that modification. Adopt the urban growth boundary. I think the previous word was complete, so we're anticipating that we're going to be going into the next fiscal year there in the public hearings and final adoption process this summer. And then with the annexation, we'll be talking about that tonight, but that also will probably, you know, carry over into the early next fiscal year with annexation code and then the area planning.
I would like to ask that we separate the second bullet into 2 bullets.
Update annexation requirements of the code, period, and then the next one, begin area planning for the UGB expansion.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Agreed.
the end of this sentence implies it's
Yeah.
applicable to both of the first 2 parts. Anyway, I feel like my English teacher's in my head right now, so.
That's good.
Or it also makes sense that we can't do area planning until annexation's done, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So, that's a good catch.
Yeah. Next strategy, no changes to the strategy. Couple updates, creating that housing working group to now study and develop further recommendations. And the rest of that remained intact. There was already the word fund in that previous goal or the previous action as we look at different funding options for affordable housing. So felt like we didn't need to make another goal regarding or that, but just keeping this one contained together. And then the next bullet could have been kind of combined with this other one, but again, it seemed like it could be done either through a housing work group or at the council level, studying different alternative housing types for affordable workforce. And then here's where that housing options for seniors also pops up. Good. Next, only change here for the houselessness strategy and goals is changing or progressing now to reviewing the community action plan. So we have that kind of slated coming up this fiscal year, but there'll probably be continued work to look at that action plan and what's next with those city responsible actions that were identified through the partnership, safe parking being one of those actions we've talked a lot about. Next one, housing livability and growth. No change to the strategy. Updates here on a couple of these actions. Continue to monitor and report on the effectiveness. So we've had a goal in the past around this. I think kind of target to do like an annual sort of update to council on you know, how the efficiency measures and other things have been implemented. Update design standards in the community development code. So some slight change in the language on that one. And then the third bullet is kind of recognition of the grant project that we're currently working on to look at our community development code from a clear and objective codes standpoint, but also recent state legislation on code requiring housing. So goal there to consider the adoption of those amendments that will be identified in the audit.
So for clarity's sake, could we add why we're, like, what we're auditing? Like just the topics we're auditing for?
Sure.
Just,
Yeah.
Because I looked at it and I almost couldn't remember, so it might not be clear to someone reading it for the first time. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll wordsmith the clear and objective criteria or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I trust you. Thank you.
Well, you'll get another chance at this too. So, Dark sky is still a goal there and strategy. I think this one didn't have any changes. We'll continue to support the work there and implementing retrofits. And then the last strategy, no changes to the strategy, but tonight you're going to be reviewing that master plan again, the draft final plan for the Northwest Park. And so this goal, maybe want to talk a little bit about this after, in light of tonight's conversation, then the adoption of this master plan. Is it the next step to design? The funding plan will be, obviously probably SDCs and seeking grant funding, and some of that will come down to the timing and what fiscal year we're in, but probably going to do design and then land use permitting, apply for the grant, and then construct. So, still another year or two before we start seeing dirt moving and things like that. We usually start with funding plans to make sure that, hey, is this feasible? Is this something we want to do? Council is probably adopting a master plan that is the, kind of preferred concept plan with the, phase one, scaled back, no pavilion, likely doable with existing SDCs, but ideally we obtain a grant to secure the majority of funding for that park improvement. So that would be probably the funding plan, and then do we actually get the grant and can start, moving forward with bidding and construction on it.
Do you want to mention the design part in this goal? I think that would be helpful, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's probably something we could
Add a
wordsmith the word
bullet point, is that what you're asking
Yeah,
for?
a second bullet or included in there.
Yeah.
Funding and design.
I think it would help because then we can go into the budget knowing, okay, let's budget some money for the design, assuming,
I guess
council
you
adopts
can
a
wait
plan.
until after tonight's meeting
Yeah.
to figure it out.
So before we leave this topic, and Councilor Predin, close your ears. So I noticed that short-term rentals were missing from the goals, and we had talked about them during our meeting. I did want to give a quick update that the person who had contacted me from the Four Sister condominiums has rescinded her request to have the STR code updated for condominiums, and she worked with the HOA president that Mayor had heard from, kind of had conversations. So that, I believe, is off the table to add condominiums, to even discuss adding condominiums back to the short-term rental piece. However, there was another piece that Councilor Ross and I know had both been interested in, and I don't know if we want to put it back in the goals or not, and that was to consider owner occupied, or at least look at some code from other places. Maybe not move too far on it this year, but just kind of get that started. So I'll just.
Of interest to me as we examine what we can do. I think it's a way for a lot of folks as they age in place, down to a single income, to have an opportunity to stay in their home. Ability to some type of a short-term or long-term rental on the property.
And you might think I'm crazy, but I think it's a good point to talk about. The only thing I worry about is as long as city manager says, hey, they have the capacity to add that to what we're already talking about. That would be my only caveat. I'm okay with looking at it because I think that's a solid point, as long as the workload's okay.
Yeah, I think my question to council would be, where does that fit into priorities? Obviously it would probably come behind annexation, area planning, UGB. Yep. So, we could put it on the goal list. It's probably something that we do later in the fiscal year next year rather than earlier.
And if it slides to next year, I don't think anybody's going to be wholly upset. The one thing we don't want to do is forget about it completely, right? So if we have it on there and it's low priority, I think that's okay, right?
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, my only it may be something that last year's goal was like minor modifications to STRs, right? But owner occupied can still be one of those, like, we start peeling the onion and, oh, what about this? What's the definition of that? And is there different licensing, forms for an owner occupied versus not? And, and we're doing the code audit, we're doing other things, like it might be a bigger policy question debate than just a one workshop type of thing.
I don't want to drop off the table more than anything else as we move forward. because I do see it as much a strategy for someone to be able to remain in their home, especially as they age in place, or someone who has a parent who may be aged, like they want a separate place to live on the property, and it could just be a short-term rental outbreak. I agree, it's more work than it looks on the surface.
Can we capture it for future goals so we don't lose track of it? Because we might come up with some more as we go through this. Like a rolling goal.
Sure.
Rolling
yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
Rolling goal list.
I mean, it could be one of those soft goals, right? Explore or whatever, and it maybe start small with like, here's some examples of existing, like,
Yeah.
you know, and we hold like a workshop to kind of prep you guys with here's some background information if we want to go further. Do you want us to keep it narrow to just owner occupied, or keep it kind of?
I think keeping it narrow is the best thing, just
Yeah.
for time constraints.
Okay.
It might come up organically in other housing conversations too.
It could.
Yep, true.
Okay. So, anything else on housing livability and growth? Okay. Essential infrastructure. These are the Paul goals here. If you have any questions, let me know. He's out of town right now, but I can get answers if you have any questions about any of these specific goals. But you kind of reviewed these at the goal setting, the next slate of projects and different phases that we have coming, including, you know, actually some construction. A lot of, you know, we're obviously under construction on things like the West Side Pump Station and things like that right now. But getting closer on permitting for some of the bigger projects, right? And design on the reservoirs on here, which is pretty big. Constructing the transmission main is a pretty big project there. You know, we're planning improvements already with most of the design done with well one. And then that final action there is kind of an internal good governance goal too. But this is like kind of asset management, you know, modernization, best practices that we put in there. Could be some dollars associated with that as we update kind of software and internal systems, but kind of falls under essential infrastructure as well, you know, having a better asset management system.
And does that last one include also, is that more just the wastewater treatment plan, or is that like all facilities?
It's all,
Okay.
yeah, water, wastewater. Yeah. And then the next one is more of the transportation side of things, right? Completing Elm Street pathway, you know, moving forward in the next fiscal year on that as we kind of finalize procurement of some of those key part of the project, like the bridge. Completing the Adams Avenue streetscape. Question here is, it appears twice, right? And maybe a question for council, I guess, is that okay? It appears also in the urban renewal goals because it's majority funded by urban renewal. At the same time, it's also funded by parking district funds, and it's, you know, a major streetscape project that improves pedestrian and bike, you know, infrastructure in town.
I'm glad it's on there twice, because once it's done, you get to check off.
Sure.
But if you feel this, I don't think there's any confusion in our minds as to what this means.
Yeah.
If you think there's confusion on the part of somebody looking at it from the outside, it would be easy to add funded by general fund or something like that. But I'm perfectly content with it.
We have the North Locust Corridor Safety Improvements. That's an ODOT funded or grant for that project that will be underway this year. And then we're, you know, already working on scoping out the safety audit of Cascade. So that's a goal that we talked a lot about, in implementing those recommendations once we get that report here this spring and summer, doing that work. Okay, good governance. A few changes here. Strategy remains the same about communication. Council talked about sort of the next steps on our efforts there and putting together like an audit or assessment of our public engagement communications and developing a strategy and different approaches that we talked about with like consulting firms or doing it, you know, support from in-house staff and getting kind of a roadmap strategy in place. And then we made some changes to the goal around youth and young adult engagement, just kind of updated that to kind of where we're at. I think we didn't kind of took out the ages and recognizing the work that the previous CLAs have done towards giving us recommendations on that. Partnerships. I added County Board of Commissioners. That was talked about. That was missing from that, but we're scheduling those joint meetings again this year. And then there was some talk about as we move into the budget process, thinking about doing direct allocations or direct financial support of organizations that work here in Sisters that are consistent with your council goals and policies that really receive funding every year from the grant program. And so rather than having them in the competitive pool, we maintain our grant program, but allocate those funds.
I'd like to add a word.
Okay.
Between providing financial, I would say providing separate financial assistance to clarify that we are not looking at this coming out of that pot of money that we use for community goals. I think it's important to basically say to those organizations that are getting funding in lower amounts for many different things they do, whether it's book programs or it's other programs. We're not touching that. We're saying we've got something here that we continually fund and realize are a core part of our city infrastructure, and we want to have separate funding for those that they can depend on. So I would add the word separate, that's all.
Okay. Any objections? Okay.
Because right now, we currently have one of these that we offer separate financial assistance, is that correct?
Just fan.
Yeah.
Just fan, right?
Just fan.
Yeah.
I thought there was two, but I can't think of the second one.
This one.
Just fan. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we need to say, identify and consider providing separate.
That might help because I was like, do I ask the question? Do you have specific organizations in mind right now versus working
No, I
through the
think we
budget
need to-
process?
Yeah, no,
We need to have a longer conversation about who these people are, and it's probably going to come during the budget process.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Break this out into 2 bullets, maintain the city's community grant program, and then identify.
Identify and consider other separate ones. I'm okay with that too. That's just wordsmithing.
Yep,
Or we
I
don't
like
have to
that.
maintain the grant program, that's something we do annually. But
Well, I don't think we're not going to maintain it.
Well, I don't think we have to.
I don't know if that's a
everything
goal,
we do, but
necessary goal or not, but
just trying to-
I see what you're saying.
It's business as usual versus a goal. A unique new project, but it is a goal. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
whatever.
was in their recognition of like we're not suggesting taking money out of the grant fund because now we're providing direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Separate, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, one action added here with the study of city council compensation options.
Yeah, I would like to update the wording on that to, I don't care what words, but including reducing barriers to serving, so that I think that most of what we were talking about is about reducing barriers as opposed to like popping up a salary. So I just want to make sure that that comes through if someone were reading this, or if you have other words, I'm good with that.
I agree. I don't know what the other words are, but
Yeah.
I know that this is it okay to, do you want to share the CLA assignment?
Oh, you said it. Yeah.
Never mind.
That's what we were thinking as a project for the
Oh.
CLA this coming cohort.
So, we're going to be reviewing that, right, and their ideas and things like that. So, however we're wording it for CLA, I think we might want to align with wording it here. I don't know what we're calling it for CLA yet. But
I'm trying to think of a better way. This is the problem with wordsmithing
Well-
in the moment, but it
Oh,
is.
we take
It's
the
not
word-
salaries.
now.
It's compensation. It could be stipends. It's things that offset the burdens of serving, and it could be times of the meetings. And
Right,
It could be
just
baby,
any option.
daycare, babysitting, and things
any
like
option to encourage involvement in city council or
If I can interject, please wordsmith it and just make
Yeah.
it better than it is right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's no pressure to do it now. We're not.
We will either give you a thumbs up or make you feel good, or a thumbs down and make you feel bad. That's okay. It comes
Okay.
with the job. You haven't got any hair applause.
You could do some homework too. Hair jokes, never. Always fun. Okay, so the environmental sustainability is the next one. The only change there was like updating this work that we've been doing with the Sisters Recycling Center to look at basically changes, determine the long-term plan, because we've kind of been studying options now, and now it's like, okay, well, if we're looking on this glide path of, it looks like the recycling center may be morphing into something different due to the county's actions with commingled recycling and maybe changes to glass at some point when we reach that population threshold. Is there a better use for that property?
The answer is yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
To come. We'll see what.
No, I don't. Good goal, though. I like it.
I think
Is
go
I
ahead.
was going to say, I think I know the answer. Is there any value in being a little redundant? Because the project under wildfire with the defensible space and water conservation demonstration project, I think that in its first genesis of being a water conservation demonstration project lived under this goal. So, I mean, it's already captured in the beginning, but you know, it does kind of check that box too.
Yeah. I was trying to look, see if it was in there before. And
I mean, there are obviously, you know, a few of these things that, you know, blend into other categories, so it's not that big of a deal. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's important too. That the demonstration landscape would not be just for fire-wise, but
yeah.
Water-wise too. So we did do some reorganizing. I think economic development was in the middle of the document before. There's no priority setting here. It's just kind of how we organize it. But so economic development here, the last strategy, has been changed slightly to basically recognize that we're supporting all businesses and sisters, not just the traded sector. You know, obviously with our work with EDCO is a big part of that, but we did a lot of discussion about how ERIC kind of goes beyond just working with traded sector and supporting and collaborating with the SBA. You know, we got the arts community. That's a big part of our, you know, economic development here. So we kind of updated that with sisters businesses. We thought, you know, do we have Main Street in there? Do we have retail? And we just, well, you know, those have their own definitions as well. So maybe it's safe to just say businesses and then traded sector. Yeah.
All sisters businesses. You could add those that are just kind of clarified to be inclusive as opposed to just the businesses, the sister business association, or, you know,
Yeah.
it's tricky. I get
Yeah,
that.
I
but
see that.
I think I understand the want and the need. I totally agree with you.
I mean, it's pretty fluid. You know, Eric's been working with the school district about, you know, other programs as well. It's like he's talking to a lot of people. So as long as it's captured that he's doing more than just economic development per se, I think is good. And it doesn't have to list every organization that he's working with, because he's working with a lot of them.
Yeah, that was another thing I think was discussed, like the regional business council, all these other groups too, and yeah, it was kind of like, yeah, do we end up just having this list of things, you know?
I thought what Councilor Ross said was just that we aren't calling out that we're supporting all businesses. We've got like some very targeted things, and you were looking for a more high level?
I think when I read Sisters Economic Development Strategic Plan Collaborative with Sisters, I understand the needs of businesses.
Maybe all.
I said the word all, that's kind of what I was looking for.
Add
Okay.
the word all
Just
to businesses.
all.
Because that
Okay.
kind of runs the gamut from
Yep.
the single proprietor running a little shop to someone who's got a place with 4 or 5 employees or more, or somebody who's making bread and selling it in several locations.
Yeah.
All business is good. Yeah. So. Yep. All.
Yep, and then support the arts community. So we had already a kind of a goal around public art opportunities programs. We're looking at the art pedestal program, starting the public art advisory committee. So we added the support the arts community as part of that strategy or action. And then the Gateway Park and Mobility Hub, which Pacific Crest is now servicing that, CEC or CET is now servicing that. So there's ways to promote that and encourage that as more of a transportation utility hub, kind of mobility hub. Almost there. Urban renewal. A few changes on urban renewal. So this council discussed this again. We'll probably have a separate meeting for the urban renewal agency to actually adopt it. But I think at this level, the councils could put on your urban renewal hat before taking the action on actually adopting the goals. Since we have this IGA now, where council and staff can work it on behalf of the urban renewal agency. But updates here: construct the Adams Avenue. So we're now into the construct phase, right? So updated that goal. We have the art goal. So this continuing now to explore acquiring public art throughout the urban renewal area. So we kind of merged those two goals together with acquiring public art, but also the public art pedestals that we've talked about, like at key locations downtown, maybe City Hall, but other spots like Gateway Park could be a great place to have an art walk. Wayfinding signage. So we've been working on this master plan. We're coming close to the end for council to adopt that, and one of the ideas is start off with a phased approach with funding and implementing new signage in our downtown as the first budgeted item there. We're trying to get those cost estimates now, and then kept intact the property acquisition opportunities, which is a big part of our urban renewal area plan.
The artwork, going back to second bullet.
Yep.
It sounds like it's limited to just art that would be on a pedestal.
Oh,
the way
no,
it's phrased.
I don't think that's the intent.
Yeah.
This might be one of those goals that maybe you have two bullets.
Do we even have to say the pedestals? Continue to explore acquiring public art and installing in key locations.
Yeah, because it could be, not all art needs a pedestal. It needs to be mounted securely and everything, right? It might be like the bigger pieces, like the Stallion or other
Could be
locations.
murals, too.
You could do murals. The pedestals the idea is, if we're working with this public art committee, we start moving towards an idea of like rotating art, outside sculpture program that often come with the city investing in pedestals, and then we engage the art community to place art there. That could be, as part of a rotating program.
Maybe we could just reword it a little bit so it doesn't sound like the art, only art depended on pedestals.
Okay.
Okay. If everybody agrees, sorry.
It could just be a comma after public art,
Yeah.
and installing public art pedestals.
Right.
But, if we're trying to save text.
That does bring up a question that I've heard a lot about the last 6 months, is the whole establishing an art commission and that kind of thing. Is that happening this year on our goals this year, or is that something we need to add to these goals to make sure it happens? I don't know. It's just a question for the group.
I'd like to see it this year. We implied we were going to do it this year, the community, and I'd like us all to do it.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, we have a slate. I think that's why it's not on. I mean, we have it slated for.
I just wanted to
yeah.
ask and just make sure.
Yeah, we're targeting. I mean, we're spring, right? April, May, June, like in the next few months. Yeah, it's coming up in the next month or two.
I just wanted to make sure. Sorry.
Yeah. And then development assistance, another key part of our plan. And so this is kind of a catch for different things that we're kind of pondering and working on. Incentive programs for wildfire resiliency. We talked about what public investments we're looking at downtown, right, with the bulb outs and really encouraging going to rock instead of bark mulch. Dark sky lighting is also a key part of that. We got our own lights downtown that we need to retrofit with the cascade lighting in particular, but also on our other commercial streets, and then business lighting as well is a big contributor to lighter skies, dark skies. So this is a way for us to kind of work on that. And kind of come up with different incentive programs, potentially using urban renewal to encourage dark sky and wildfire resiliency. Any questions? All right.
Let's just do more downlight,
Yeah.
less uplight. Okay.
Right.
That's just what we need.
Off topic slightly, but as we look at lighting along the Adams Street landscape, purchasing of what kind of lighting we're going to have, and how we're going to do that, it may be, and I'm sure both Paul and Jackson are already thinking about this, it may be that there's some opportunity to leverage purchasing of that to purchase some of the lighting along some of our other streets, like Wood or Main, we need to do some upgrading as well. So it's part of a larger buy rather than a small, just a bundle. It works sometimes.
It works on TV.
It's on TV, that's all. We want to get the ones that see on TV.
Get all our information from TV. Okay. Any other comments, goals? Like I said, we'll bring this back. Thanks for your review and yeah.
Really appreciate that. I know that
Good
it
work.
took you all, all
6 hours of
took
stuff.
all the things we said and
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, like I said, I
slice
gave you the
and dice.
highlighted at the meeting because the marked up version was, it's hard to track. Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, thank you.
Thank you for that. And just doing a time check, we had 30 minutes allotted for that, and we're over 45 minutes. We'll just keep moving forward, but we will bring up Matt Martin, Principal Planner, to talk about the Northwest Park final draft plan and report review.
Time check, Matt, your time is up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cut it by 15, please.
Yeah.
That's up to you. Matthew Martin, Principal Planner, City of Sisters. I'm joined again by John Champlin with NV5. He's our consultant on the Northwest Park Master Plan project. We are back again following a discussion on February 11th where the council discussed and further refined the programming, the design of the park, and and reviewed the funding and revenue analysis that's available for the park itself. We're back now with the final report and a draft version of that encapsulates the entirety of the project from beginning to our latest meeting on February 11th, showing the progression of the project and the final direction provided by the council. So here's the draft report that we're anticipating bringing back on April 8th in its final version for a final decision on the master plan itself. So in this interest of time, we don't necessarily have a presentation prepared. John is prepared to provide a brief overview of the construct of the plan itself and some of the details on the final programming of the park, but I can leave that to the council if you feel prepared to just provide comment or questions at this point. So I'll leave that to you for some direction.
I feel like we left last time with the question of oh dear, like a court, like whether that was something we wanted to pursue or not.
Like a basketball court?
Yeah, so that's probably the one thing lingering for me the most. I'm okay with walking through it all. I'm always happy to get a refresh. I mean, I've read through it again, but it's good with conversation, especially if we're giving like if we're going to give pretty much a final nod to what we're looking for design for, right? That's the intent of this evening.
Yeah, any format of the report, additional detail that you'd like to have included, or this is kind of the last, well, certainly you have that final approval of the report, but if you have any other design considerations for final refinement of the programming of the park, we can certainly consider that. So it's just kind of one last, brush before we come back for final.
In my discussions with the park committee, park board, a week or two ago, we discussed this at some length, and I think they're very comfortable with the fact that we're looking at the phase one footprint, I guess I'd put it, not necessarily the design as it currently is shown on the page, the footprint. Mixed feeling on the court, but I think that it would be very easy for us, I'm looking at our NV5 guy up there, but I think it would be very easy for us to have a conceptual plan that includes it and one that doesn't, that being the main difference between the two. I would like to see, if we don't do the court, whether or not that impacts where where the restroom would go and where the play facilities would go and how that park might be structured slightly differently. The other thing that was discussed at our meeting that I did see under the final summary on the last page, which you see in some of the other documentation, was the concept of a berm or something like that. I think that's a really great idea to try to include. And I was hoping we'd see a draft tonight that would have shown us what that might look like, as opposed to where we started with phase one. But I understand that. And then also there was a lot of discussion about we need some kind of a covered structure, shaded picnic type structure that could be maybe integrated into the restroom, much like the one that is now over at SPRD. And again, the committee felt that would be a very nice addition to have, given that A, sometimes it's pretty hot, and B, sometimes it's pretty wet. So nothing real big. We don't want to make it an attractive nuisance, but we want it to be a place where it could be a part of that same structure. So those are the only comments I had when I read this through, and of course I've seen this probably 40 times at this point, so I probably have a little more comfort with it than others. So I'm open to any questions or you want to have. But those are the two things that I want to be sure we see, and whatever comes back to us in our final product is a drawing that kind of represents those elements being added in and where they would be. And I was happy to see that, the walk with, I can't remember what the term is, but the descriptive walk with the little placards. There was not a lot of interest in that on the part of the Parks Board, mainly because of experience in this area with the bright sunlight, that most of those placards do not last a long time. They tend to fade, crack, and so if we think about some kind of an interpretive walk, we might want to think, you mentioned art as one thing, maybe a place for some pedestals. It may also be that we want to look at something that's more naturescape, where it might identify trees and shrubs and plants and bugs and piles of dirt.
Bugs.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. I recalling the discussion on the berm feature, and it captured in the notes the summary of the discussion on the 11th. I think we can work with John and including that in the final preferred concept design, just to kind of at least outline where it may be located on the property. And also acknowledging that the picnic structure as well as basketball court are discussed and identified as potential options in the park itself. So noting that there will be a final land use process and final design refinement once the project goes live. So this is accentuating that this is a concept that will be, once finalized and detailed design later on.
But I think seeing some of that with some budgetary concerns, as we saw with some of the other parts of this particular document, would be beneficial to us to know, okay, if we do put down a court, we know it's going to be, about $100,000 or whatever. What would do a covered picnic shelter add to the cost of the restrooms and those things? So those are numbers I would want to see as we look at that final conceptual plan and think about where we want to go from there. Are these things we want to include because we can afford them? I don't want to drain the SDC budget, but at the same point in time, I want to be sure we do what we need.
I agree 100% with everything you just said. I mean, I really think that a picnic cover, I want to know what the price of that is, and we'll decide later. This is just the master plan. This is not the design.
That's right.
So we'll have one more shot at final numbers and stuff, and I'd rather shoot a little bit high. We've already shot really high and decided not to shoot that high, and I'm okay with adding those things, the berm. Yeah, shoot a little lower, and
Sounds like you guys want a basketball court.
I'd like a price on it for sure.
Yeah, understood.
Not absolutely necessary. We can figure that out.
Not a basketball.
Down. Yeah. I would just jam right over you. I mean, you're short, so.
Short length, short arms.
No, but putting a price on it in the master plan is great. So those are things we want to see. Obviously, taken out. We've taken out some stuff. We don't need to see that. We've kind of decided that we're not going that big.
Yeah.
Right?
It looks like Councilor Pellerin might have some
Yeah,
thoughts.
please.
Did I have that look on my face?
You do have that look.
Oh,
yeah.
man. Oh, yeah. Well, I was just kind of reiterating here. So we want to see some estimates for the picnic shelter, possibly attached to the restroom structure, the berm, and the basketball court. I do see it in comments. It says NV5 response for the basketball court, approximately 100,000.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want more detail than that. Are you good?
Just make sure it's in there.
Yeah.
The final. Yeah.
That's a lot of money for a basketball court. Is that typical? Is that the cost of asphalt?
John?
Yeah, so you've got to consider site prep, base rock. You know, asphalt has a pretty deep base of gravel underneath it, and then the paving, of course, and then the goals as well. Those are an added expense. Striping, you know, it all plays into it. So
Okay.
We were just thinking apple baskets with the bottom cut out.
Yeah.
we could go that route if that's what you want.
Thank you.
Is there any
Mhm.
consideration of drainage? Is it different at all with the corridor, without the corridor? Is it pretty much the site is prepped fairly the same?
Either way, it's fairly the same. It's relatively flat. The soils that you have there drain very well. We talked that over with Paul, and you know, if we do add impervious to this site, it's not going to be in the magnitude that we're going to have a lot of runoff. So we do not foresee any issue with stormwater runoff on this project. It can all be kept on site and dealt with.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And a basketball court can, you know, be used for other things too, and other events, or, you know, little,
Roller skating.
that, or, yeah, little kid learning how to ride a bike, and just a nice little,
Yep, safety town.
yeah, yeah.
It is, there's an actual program called there.
Oh.
Set it up with stop signs.
Ah.
I was wondering, and just kind of how it flows here. We kind of had to go through a lot of the history, how we got to this point, and then finally at the very end is where we landed. Can we just take where we landed and put that up front? You know, here's where we are today, and then here's all the history that got us there. I was just suggesting that because it kind of took me a while to get to the point where we were.
Yeah, it took me a while too.
I think there's opportunity to reformat, either reorder or provide an executive summary that gets to the details and the final conclusion, and then tells you on, or takes you on the journey.
Thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, John, do you have any other questions or comments before we close out?
No, I think that's very helpful. We can tie the summary programming that was finally determined for the project to some costs, and have that associated together, and have that as an executive summary for moving forward into design.
Okay, well, we plan on being back again on April 8th. The product will look similar with the draft watermark removed, so you'll see the full 25 plus pages of the master plan, and then the 60 plus pages of appendices, so it'll appear redundant, but here's the final report for you, for your consideration. So thank you for all your help and work on the project. And
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
John.
We talk about
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, John.
The tiki bar.
Of course, my pleasure.
It's exciting.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Great. All right, last up is an annexation policy discussion. We're continuing this discussion. Scott Woodford from Community Development will take us on this journey. Yeah, we are. Exciting.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening to those folks in attendance who might be coming to listen in here. So this is a continuation of the workshop that we started on February 25th. And the purpose of these discussions are to start preparing ourselves for petitions or proposals that we might get once our UGB amendment is adopted, that if we start getting petitions for annexation soon after, we want to be ready and have our ordinance in place, ready to go once that happens. And so that's the reason we're here tonight, is to kind of get an idea of where we are now with our ordinance, what other communities are doing, and then start to craft what particular details we want to have in our updated annexation ordinance. And so we're started out the last meeting more with education, trying to make sure everybody understands we don't do annexations every day here. So I just want to make sure that everybody kind of understands what it is and how it works. And so I kind of feel we're still trying to lay that foundation in terms of what we can do, what the process is, what the law says about what we can require, so that we can kind of decide how we want to craft ours. And so I have, in the staff report, I put some information in there. I tried to respond to some of the questions you had last time. I won't go into those unless you have follow-up questions on that. I also included some sample ordinances that I thought were pretty good from other communities, just to give you an idea of how one would probably lay out in terms of the elements of an ordinance, so that we kind of get an idea of that. Also did some further research on affordable housing requirements from other communities, and got some input from affordable housing developers who might be implementing some of that policy, to get some of their feedback. And then at the end, just wanted to talk about the next steps. So just continuing to fill out that kind of basic understanding of how this process works from once we adopt a UGB, how we get to a actual development. And this flow chart kind of shows you the higher level steps that are involved. First we adopt our UGB, then the idea is to further refine that with an area plan, and then entertain actual development proposals in the form of a master plan and annexation, and then how that leads to actual subdivision and site plan, actual development plans and approval. And so I just wanted to walk through that in a little more detail, just quickly. This is obviously a map of our recommended boundary in Sisters for our expansion in blue there. All it really shows is the outline, the boundary. It doesn't show different land use designations, doesn't show roads, parks, schools, none of that. Just basically shows where it is proposed to go. And so it has a set of criteria that we need to satisfy with that, and we're awaiting formal adoption of that as we speak. Now I just took some examples. We don't have an example in Sisters, so I turned to other communities to just show you sort of some examples of what a area plan looks like. These two are from Redmond. These are just one component of an area plan. An area plan is actually a document, like could be a 100-page document that has many different elements into it. But I just pulled these out because they're maybe the most interesting parts of that, and those are sort of the land use plan, where it takes these areas that were UGB expansions there and starts to lay out different colors on this map, represent different types of land uses. So on the left, the blue represents some commercial, and then the different colors represent different densities of residential, and with a school in the middle, and the yellow more low density. Other pages have a little more detail in terms of kind of street access and park locations. The one on the right actually takes it to quite a bit more detail and kind of shows a gridded street system. It shows a small walkable downtown commercial area in red, and then some higher density kind of radiating out towards lower density, and some employment uses in gray. So that starts to give a little bit more idea of what the expansion areas how they're gonna develop out as. That will provide guidance for future developers to follow, and so that sets the stage for future development.
So Scott,
Yeah.
we're really getting down to that level before we even get to taking proposals.
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
The idea
Okay.
is that this would
Yeah.
be not well in advance, but at least in advance of actual annexation proposals.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we'll want to have, one of the criteria that we'll want to have with our annexation ordinances, compliance with our area plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we determine where
Things go.
determine block size, or is that a little bit adjustable?
That might be a little bit more detailed than we want to get. I mean, you'll notice the one on the left doesn't have that.
Okay.
There could be policies that talk about block sizes.
Okay.
That we would implement in our, either we have in our development code already, or some of the policies, if we want different standards, could be recommendations to change the code to accommodate this type of development. Or
So in our case,
No, please.
the area plan, we would look at that block of land in that purple. That area plan would identify employment lands in one color, low-density housing in another, high-density housing in another, parks, schools, etc. So it kind of gives us how that piece breaks up, but it doesn't really say, here's where the street's going to go, here's where the lot line's going to go.
doesn't get down to that layer of detail quite yet.
And how malleable is it? Because is this, like zoned, or is it something that, as properties are annexed in and they're like, well, maybe part of my property is that, or,
Yeah.
how stringent is?
Well, in my experience, the actual development isn't an exact representation of your area plan, just because of the reality of, developers coming in and wanting to do something a little slightly different, and there's room for modification. If it gets to be to the point where it is too much of a modification, we can require that they have to modify the area plan, go back through the process. But there's an expectation that it's not going to be exactly like this, but in substantial conformance to it.
Okay.
We need to make sure that we get the minimum acreages of all the different types of land that are identified in our land need report. And so these are basically comprehensive plan designations. They're similar to zoning designations, but a little bit different. They would help inform what zone district these properties got zoned to at time of annexation.
So at annexation, there's a zone and master plan approval, like kind of poof in 1 second, kind of it's all happening like
Yes. Concurrently.
Concurrently. Thank you very
Yeah.
much. I appreciate
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Okay.
And so that's a good segue into annexation and master plan. You might find this one familiar. I just took this the Woodlands development, just to kind of, it wasn't an annexation, but just to kind of illustrate the concepts. Say that project was in our urban growth boundary and wanted to be annexed. So that would be at the property owner's petition. Cities don't typically annex properties without the property owner's consent. It's usually wait for the property owner to come forward to request that. There will be annexation review criteria, and the idea is that we would, at time of annexation, require a master plan. It doesn't have to be the level of detail of a subdivision. Sometimes, if they're ready, they could include a subdivision at that time and get approval. But like I said last time, most communities don't allow annexation without an actual plan associated with it, because you have to be able to evaluate it to determine whether it's something that you want to annex, meets our criteria. So, I put in what our master plan requirements are in our code now. It's prior to any subdivision. 10 acre. Well, I think the minimum threshold applies as well. The 10 acre site for residential and 5 acres for multifamily residential would require a master plan. So we'd want to evaluate whether we'd want to keep that the same for future annexations or not. And so you can see on the left, those are the application of the zone districts. That would have a zoning plan. And then on the right, even though this particular one came in with probably a subdivision at the same time as the master plan, you could say that that could be an example where you would have the layout, the general layout of the roads. You could have, maybe instead of the lots shown, you may have just a color showing where multifamily is going to go or where commercial is going to go. You might not have the actual lotting pattern at that time for a master plan.
So this topic, I know, is like, we're trying to not take 8 years, but I have so many questions, and I feel like this is, again, one of those topics that it's like, I want to understand it before I sign off on it. So if a master plan doesn't necessarily show subdivision detail, do we just have an agreement that says we're going to have this, if we get into stuff, we're going to have this percentage of single family, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, we're going to have this percentage of, like, are we getting any detail of what's going to be in there, or
Yeah.
it's just a big plop of residential?
You know, it's not often that we just get a master plan without a subdivision. Usually, because people are going through the process anyway, they just want it and they're ready. They usually just put all that stuff together and take it forward. So it's quite likely that we would have all that information. But there is an option in our code just to do a master plan independent of a subdivision. And so you would, yeah, you're correct. You would need to know the details in terms of how many units are we getting and how many lots. So there would have to be some commitment to minimum numbers of density or demonstration that they can achieve that density even if they don't have the final details down yet. Did you have something?
You know, the scenario where you have a large acreage, like 100 acres or something, where they will submit a master plan, but maybe only the first phase is, you know, the subdivision plan for just phase 1. And so you may see the master plan where, okay, the subdivision is only submitted for the subdivision for 20 acres, which has a mix of residential and multifamily, but there's another phase to the master plan that they haven't submitted a subdivision plan yet that is commercial and multifamily or something like that, where you won't see that level of detail that you see in the subdivision plan until they're ready to execute on that master plan.
But I think the most important thing is, even if they haven't shown us what they're doing in the first part of the master plan, they still have to abide by our annexation agreement. So they can't move forward without that. So that's why these annexation rules are important, because we're binding them to it, whether they show it to us as a master plan or they show it to us as a master plan with a full-blown subdivision. Either way, they still have to, when it's all said and done, they're not going to get approved for construction until they actually meet all the requirements of the annexation itself. They'll have already agreed to that to get in.
Yeah, and that's why I'm wondering if we're not seeing the detail of it, is there some kind of verbiage? And please, if I'm ever wrong, to say that's not how it works, but we had a housing needs analysis, right? And we're expecting to get certain types of housing in certain quantities and so we've got these projects going along, and how do we know we're meeting that if we've got multiple projects? And I'm just trying to figure out how it all comes together. Does that question
No, it
make
makes sense. I guess I can just speak from my own experience implementing some of these. Never saw them without subdivisions.
Okay.
So most likely they would come through with subdivision. If not, we would need to take a look at our master plan requirements and make sure that we're getting the level of information we need if they were to just come in as a master plan initially, so that it gets to the information that you're asking about.
I think this speaks, as I'm listening to the discussion, as to why the annexation policy that we craft has to be what we want. Because I think we're not going to be seeing the master plan. That's going to be going through, once the annexation policy is in place, we're kind of in the background. At least that's how I've seen it in the past. The annexation goes through your department, the work goes in your department, it might go to the planning commission for further look, but rarely does, I think, that come before the council.
That's correct. The way it's written right now, it stops with planning commission, but that's a discussion item if we'd want to, with the annexations, if we'd want to, I mean, since council's making the decision on the annexation, it seems as though that they should also look at the master plan as well in those cases.
I'd like that, but
Yeah.
that's not how it's done.
It's not the way it's written now, yeah.
I trust the planning commission to make those decisions. No, just because, I mean, I suppose for certain master plans of certain sizes that are really large, I might want to take a peek at it and possibly have some influence on it. But all the little, little ones, 10 acres, 50 acres, well, I don't know. Some kind of threshold that, I don't think they all need to come before us, that's for sure.
I also don't think they need to come to council, but I think that we have to have the criteria all laid out in such a way that it makes it easy for the planning commission to know whether they're meeting the criteria or not. Yeah.
Is it true, Scott, that while this is going on, you'll get the first one and you'll be tallying percentages and stuff as the second one comes on, you add it to meet our goals? Is that just something that you'll be doing as part of your job?
So when you say telling.
So we have X amount of acres we're bringing in, let's say 250 or whatever it is. And then, okay, here comes the first 100 acres and here's the percentages of each type.
Yeah.
And then the people that come after that have to start meeting these other criteria, right?
Yeah, the area plan should lay that out so that
That's what
it ensures that all those required needs are being met.
I'm just trying to get a good idea of the process itself, because I think that explains how things happen is part of that process.
Okay. Yes. Planning Commission recommends it.
The other thing I do want to note, and just so we all have a real good idea of what we're doing here with this annexation policies, we're looking at Bend and we're looking at Ashland and we're looking at Rebend. None of these have everything that we want or are going to need. So we're actually forging another path, like Sisters. We seem to do quite a bit with building hardening and, fire mitigation. We're doing all kinds, and we're just doing it again. And so all these questions like this are going to come up from all of us at certain times, and we're just going to have to be patient with each other in the sense that we're doing stuff that hasn't really been done before by one single community. We're just doing it because we have to.
I think a comment I would make on the two provided us, and I appreciate it, I like the Ashland one as well, is that in terms of formatting, just from a reader point of view, the Bend was much easier to go through, follow, and figure out than the North Platte. The North Platte looks like it was written by attorneys.
North Plains?
North Plains.
Yeah.
Looks like it was written by attorneys and planners. And I mean that in that it speaks to the things that you look to every day and the rules and the regulations. It looks like a legal document, which is what it is. The Bend one looks like something that a person who didn't have that kind of training in the back could go through and know what it is they need to do. And I think that helps to reduce confusion on the part of planners and that sort of thing, especially if someone's bringing a small plat. Yeah. The big players already know what they're doing, but the small players may not. Okay. So just in terms of when this thing comes out, you could find a much better example how to put this together than West Virginia.
I thought it was pretty good myself, even if it wasn't written by a planner.
It looks similar to some of our code, to be honest.
Yeah.
I just want to do a time check.
Sure.
How much do you have left, and then we can decide if we want to keep going. Or...
Yeah. I've got. I can skip over. I have some slides on the layout of the ordinance, but I didn't want to go into detail because I put that in the report, and I assume that you guys had a chance to look at it. If you have any questions about any of those sections, I have a slide for that, but that's something I could skip over, I think, to save some time if you'll have more opportunity to kind of talk about that as we go forward. But just wanted to finalize that first point I was making about the getting to actual development approval. Here's some just close-ups of subdivision plans that show actual dimensions of lots and layouts and right-of-ways and open space tracks. So you're just getting to that level of detail. So it's kind of just wanted to show you the train that it takes from UGB to actual development. And then site plan review. Here's an example of that. You guys knew all that, but it's never bad to reiterate it. So I'm not going to go into kind of the layout of an ordinance because it sounded like the examples that were included were pretty clear and helpful. This just kind of emphasizing how important approval criteria is, because I've mentioned in the past that if a petitioner is in the UGB and is contiguous and meets these criteria, we're pretty much obligated to approve an annexation. So we want to make sure that those criteria are where we want them to be, because the state law is kind of evolving, you know, with housing production goals, and whereas annexations maybe in the past used to be a little bit more of a negotiation, and I think it's trending less towards that, and towards being objective and objective criteria and things of that nature. So just wanted to give a little bit more discussion on affordable housing. This is just, I won't go over Ashland. We talked about that last time. Has pretty good set of requirements. Looked at Ben's, and I talked to the Ben planners there to see just kind of how it's going there. They have, in their last UGB expansion, they had probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 different areas of expansion areas all around the perimeter of the. Yeah, they all have different criteria, and they all have different requirements for affordable housing. So just talking to the planners there, there's a couple of them that have like 25% of the units need to be affordable, but there's such a mix. Some of them were, legislative UGB amendments. You know, they have one that took advantage of the 1537 one time, so it has specific requirements. There's some UGB pilot projects that had legislative established numbers of units. So they don't really have kind of that one percentage like we are considering. And interestingly enough, some of them were just like sweeten the pot to get included in the UGB. They would say, hey, we'll throw in this amount of affordable housing to get included. So it's all over the board, I guess, for their requirements. They don't have any set area median income goals. No requirements for ownership versus rental. They didn't have any locational requirements. One of the discussions, and Ashland has this in there, is that they want the affordable units to be scattered throughout the site, not just kind of in one enclave. They've since kind of relaxed that a little bit, but I thought they had one of the area plans had some interesting locational requirements for affordable housing, that they be near schools and trails, which I thought that was pretty interesting for criteria and location. They've had some changes to the commitments, upfront commitments, that somebody said that a developer said they were going to do 30% AMI, and later found out that they couldn't pull that off, so they asked council to up that to 60% AMI, and the council said yes, thinking that 60% is still pretty good.
So if we had defined our AMI percentage in our annexation rules, and we had the same request from a developer, we would have to go back and change those annexation rules, as opposed to having them in the area plans like Ben did. Yeah,
or unless we had a range.
Okay.
I think you're looking at Ashland, they have an 80 to 120% range. So I think that gives them a little flexibility. But if you kind of baked in certain numbers and they straight from that could require.
I really like the way they've got that laid out, though. That's very, very simple. And I think we should try and keep ours as simple as we can.
I think that by working with folks like Habitat and others, in terms of the credits, what that means, and how to make that work, and is the AMI where it needs to be, and all those kinds of questions, those are the things I think we can discuss and talk about. But I'm with you, I think that we need to have it be clear. I still like 30, that 25, but anyway, that discussion too at some point. And I think that providing how the credit works makes a lot of sense. And Ben's mishmash is sort of an indication of the fact that they grew the city in about every direction it could possibly grow in. And each area had a set of different requirements of different land and everything else. We're growing one way. We know what we need to do. I think it makes it easy for us to come up with something that is definable, explainable to the average citizen as well as to potential.
Yeah, I also not sure if it needs to be exactly like written there, but the bedroom mix of units being the same as market rate units, just to control, some kind of control over what the end product we're looking for is going to look like. Maybe not the same size, so like, but that we don't want all apartments, or we don't want all, just some set of guidelines around what type of product and yeah, just what type of product we're looking for.
Well, I think I like the statement, whether it's clear or not, because, it doesn't allow someone to come in, as I've seen in other parts of the communities, where they come in and they're building 3,000 square foot houses, 3-bedroom, 3-bath houses, and then their affordables are one bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1.5-bath type of thing. I think that when I see the mix, I think people should not be penalized because they can't afford a 3,000 square foot house. They should have the same amenities. They might just have as much.
Yeah.
And so, just in the interest of time, moving on here a little bit, I did have some discussions with an affordable housing developer who could be an example of an entity that would actually build this affordable housing. And so that's valuable input. One of the questions was, in Ashland, the option is for the developer to build it or to deed land to an affordable housing developer to build the housing. So if they were to get land that is deeded, how would they be assured that the land is ready to develop and affordable? One big issue is making sure that utilities are stubbed to the property, that streets as well, that they don't have off-site development costs just to get infrastructure to the site, which impacts the affordability of the project. Another question was, how will the city ensure that it can be developed at the affordability level desired? We wouldn't. It's not like a situation where we're like, okay, developer, you can only sell this land for this price to the next person so that they can do it affordably. It's, here's your requirement. Here's the AMI you need to meet, and then maybe the product mix, and it's for the developer and any other entities that they work with to provide what they're required to. How they do it and all the details, we don't really want to get involved with, I don't think. The developer would have to give that land to the affordable housing developer at a rate that they could actually pull the project off. That negotiation is between them. So that was one of the questions that were answered.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I don't know how we're doing on time, but cut me off if you need to.
Well, as long as everybody's okay with going a little over. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So some other observations were right now in our definition of affordable housing, in our affordable housing grants, workforce housing grants, talks about what affordable housing is, and it talks specifically about not spending more than 30% of your income on rent and mortgage. Based on the experience of this particular developer, that has proven to be an issue with finding a pool of applicants.
It's a big hurdle.
It's a huge hurdle, I guess. Yeah, I didn't know that, but so there was a request or a consideration for maybe relaxing that a little bit. Some go to 35, some go up to 40%, and apparently just by doing that increases the pool of applicants considerably.
I heard that.
What entity? I mean, what entity is the one that actually needs to require debt to income ratio? It's not us. It's banks.
Well, our affordable housing grant does specify that.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to look at that pretty carefully then and make sure we're not too tight. We don't want to be too loose either. You don't want to lose people, right? So
Right.
You don't want them to get it and then not be able to keep it up. So interesting.
And here we're talking about what we're considering affordable housing as opposed to, say, workforce housing, in terms of what we're seeing in front of us right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are just some of the other observations passed on to us. The small lot sizes are critical. We already have that in our code where cottage development lots can go down to 2,000 square feet, and then with our affordable housing bonus can even go down to 1,400 square feet. And that's really small, but there's been some projects that have pulled that off successfully, and getting more units on a piece of ground is instrumental to making affordable housing projects feasible. I don't think our engineering department will let us go any lower than that, or they'll revolt, but it does help for developability.
So I'm not sure if I'm remembering incorrectly, but is there a cottage overlay right now, or is everywhere that's residential allowed to have cottages?
Every including the downtown commercial, residential, and multifamily residential, I believe are the ones that it's by zone district.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Affordability period. That's the time that is required for the units to maintain their affordability. Sometimes they're as little as 10 years or 20 years. In the case of other ones, such as Habitat, they're perpetual. They're affordable perpetually. So we need to consider what we want to put there. And then talked about rental versus ownership. They saw the need for both, but probably more rental, maybe on the order of 70 to 30 rental to ownership. And consideration of the administrative burden to developers. Once you place requirements for affordable housing, there's an expectation that annually you check to make sure that the people that are living there meet the income restrictions. So that's an administrative burden.
And I'm assuming you're referring to third-party administration as to fighting the source?
As to what?
You have third party up there. You mean third party?
Yeah, I noticed that too. Correct. And then recommendation just to talk to some other affordable housing developers and to talk to some of the developers too, just to get their input on this as well. We want it to be a successful program if we set it up. Yeah, hit them up.
Yeah, I would definitely like to hear some, or have you hear it and translate for us, that's fine, like some lessons learned, like, wow, this does not work this way, because if people have done this before and had it not work out for reasons that we might be able to avoid, that's great to hear.
Yeah. So just next steps, future council workshops. Next one's on April 8th. May 7th, there's been some, so this is another wrinkle. The assumption was that this was going to be a muni code amendment that just involved council. It's quite possible that this could land in our development code, which would involve planning commission too. So we'll have to engage them with workshops. One thought was maybe doing a joint meeting with the planning commission and the council, potentially May 7th, to have a conversation about this together, to get them up to speed. And then the idea is that hopefully we're not, that we're adopting our changes to our annexation ordinance prior to or concurrent or not too much long after the adoption of our UGB, so that we can have these in place and ready to go. So it's possible that the UGB adoption might take place in kind of the July range. So we're moving along with this. So we'll have to be diligent.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Jordan about that yesterday. I would certainly rather take longer on the annexation policy and get it right, even if we end up with the UGB approved first. Not that that's what I want, but is there any, I can't remember where we came to, but is there any risk of people then using old annexation policy or trying to use old annexation policy in the window? Or is that just like me being overthinking?
It's possible. Yeah, it's something we want to be concerned about or
Okay.
recognize.
Is there a possibility of maybe putting some like temporary, you can't annex right now code in? I mean, is that a thing? Anyway, I'm not going to sit and worry about it a lot, but I mean, just how do we manage that if we do get to that situation?
That's a great question, and something I've been thinking about and talking with the city attorney on, so.
Thank you.
I think that would be important information for us to have.
Yeah.
I'm not at all interested in having requests for annexation prior to reworking the annexation code. I would be very disappointed if we did that.
What do you need from us tonight to move forward? I mean, have you heard enough now, or is there, I mean,
think
what do you
so.
need
I
from
think
us?
you generally like the format of that certain community that we won't name, but you like the layout of it. So I think maybe a next step is to start kind of putting ours into kind of that format, and we can kind of work on the details of it as a means to go forward. And it sounds like you're giving some good direction on the affordable housing requirements. I think it needs more work and input, but we can start kind of putting it on paper and seeing what it looks like and adjusting it accordingly.
Yeah, and I think that I really want to stress something that Councilor Pellerin said last time, this top-down approach. I think there are a lot of things that we need to, just like 7 or 8 details that we probably need to start talking about really soon. I mean, Gary said 30%, there's 25% up there. There's probably reasons we might want to have bigger projects be a different number than smaller projects. And I think some of these discussions are going to be really important and take a lot of time. So if we can get to them a little sooner, as far as some of those things that are going to be sticking points, or at least complicated conversations, that we probably want to identify them sooner rather than later. All, I think.
And I would say, I know we have a lot of things to talk about in workshops, but this is not a 30-minute discussion in my mind. When we really get down to it, this is probably going to be a much longer discussion, and I don't want you to have to be rushed, and I don't want us to have to push our schedule out so late that folks who come here for the city council meeting are inconvenienced as well. So something to think about as you do your planning. And I see somebody holding his head over there, so I'm already in trouble. But
well, and this time there was a request to kind of
I know.
Stuff it in here, but yeah, I hear you.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm not finding fault. I'm just saying that when we get down to some of these finer details, I think it deserves our time.
You'd like to parry?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
It's not going to be a party.
Okay.
Just ask for you to send this presentation too, because that was really helpful for me to go back over the one you did last time. It was very, very helpful.
Yes, I will.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry I couldn't get that to you in advance, because
that's
I was
no
working
problem.
on it up until the last moment. So.
Yeah, midnight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have some questions on here, and I'm sure everybody has plenty of other questions. So we always have the opportunity to
In between
contact
meetings.
Scott to, get some of these little questions answered here. So I think we need to be putting in a little extra time on our own to do that, and hopefully if there's anything juicier you're hearing over and over again, that's something you could kind of bring back to all of us. But obviously no decision making being done in these conversations. Right. It's just, there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn. So, all right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will adjourn the workshop, and we will start the regular city council meeting at 6. So we'll get started in about 1 minute here.
Are you posing for where in the world is the nugget?
Yeah.
That would actually be really cool at a city council meeting.
All right. Everybody good? Okay.
Oh, sorry, I was just
No,
catching up on.
just waiting for 6:50. All right. I'd like to call to order the March 11th, 2026 Sister City Council regular meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, please.
Mayor Letts,
Here.
Council President McDougall,
Here.
Councilor Predin,
You betcha.
Councilor Ross,
Present?
and Councilor Pellerin. Here.
All right, thank you. Do I have an approval or a change of agenda?
There's no changes there.
Oh,
We're out of the consent.
well, no, it is.
I move to approve the agenda?
Second.
Okay.
Hold on.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we had a script. We had a script change.
Oh, sorry.
I was going off of the other agenda, please. So we're at consent agenda?
Well, approval of the agenda, I mean, I know you had an issue to bring up about
Yeah, I think that's
6B.
later.
So you can you bring it up now or consent agenda. Okay,
I think when we get to consent agenda.
okay. All right.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Okay,
And I'll second that again.
okay.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Visitor communication.
Rick Kufal,
And Rick, if we butchered your last name, forgive us. If we didn't say your last name right, sorry.
Really close. It's Kofel.
Koval. Thank you.
Thank you.
We were all trying to decide.
Well, I've been a resident here since 2004 in Timber Creek Addition, and I have a concern. Over the years, I've had some wildlife, deer, that have passed away either on my property or right next to my property, which is the little easement before the creek. The first one was just an old age, and I had no problems. I called the city, called planning committee, and somebody came out and took care of the carcass, took the carcass away. Second time was 4.5 years ago, and that was a cougar kill on my property in the lower section, and the cougar had actually eaten about almost a little over half the deer and left the other. And again, I called the planning department, and they came out same day and hauled the deer away. This last time, from the winter storm we had, the heavy rains and the flooding along White's Creek, I had a deer wash up on the lower section, and I called the planning department again, and they said, sorry, we don't do that anymore, and you need to call ODFW and talk to them. Which I did, and ODFW said, well, you have two options. You can, three options. One, you can just leave the deer and let it decompose in place. Two, you can take the deer out in the woods and just dump it there, the body. Or three, you can hire a removal service to come out and do that, but that will cost you several $100s. And I said, oh, okay. And upon reflection of that, if I would have left the deer there and let it just continue to decompose, one, it would have brought in some other wildlife critters to eat that deer as part of the decomposition, and it would have created a health hazard, which is a big factor. If I wanted to hire somebody to do that, I could have done that at my own expense, but I didn't do that either. I took the ODFW's second option, which was to pack the deer up and take it out in the woods and dump it there. That is not something that I should, as a resident, have to do. Or I guess I could have drug it about 8 feet onto the city side right next to the creek, or into the creek and just let it wash down the creek, since it had drowned in the high waters. And it had not yet been eaten, so it was not a kill, it just drowned. And it was a young year and a half old deer, a fawn still. So my concern is the change of policy. We have deer that get killed here every so often by a car hitting them. If it's on the street or if it's on the highway, of course, the highway department takes care of that. If it is on a city street, the City of Sisters takes care of that. But if it's an animal that has died and is now on private property, in the past, the city has taken care of that. But now, I guess the policy, according to the people I talked to, was we don't do that anymore. And that just concerns me for a safety, a health, and just an environmental issue here. And it's something that should easily be taken care of. You know, for me to have to pack it out, and especially now I didn't have my pickup truck with me, so I didn't have that option to put it in the back of the truck. I had to put it in the back of an SUV. Not the best place to put it, but that was my option. So that's my concern at this point, and it's something I would like, hopefully, if not tonight, in the future, the board take a look at and maybe rethink that policy of letting the homeowner deal with the animal kills as opposed to just, if you're a city resident, let the city do it. That is my concern. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you,
Any
Rick.
questions for me?
No, usually
Okay.
not a back and forth time.
I know,
but
I just wanted to double check.
Yeah, okay, thank you though.
Thank you.
Robert Baker.
Good evening. I'm Bob Baker. I live at 80 South Locust down the street, Locust Street at the dead end, just before the city courtyard, the gated area. My wife would have liked to have been here tonight. She's sick, so she couldn't make it. But my concern to present to the city council is a truck traffic that is increasing on South Locust Street because of access to the city courtyard, or is being granted by the city to access their courtyard to stage new construction or repair projects by independent contractors, independent companies. I've lived there since 2012, and there's always traffic for the city trucks. The fire department has their station down there with their training station, so we do see those trucks. But what has occurred recently, most recently, was about 5-6 months ago, there were some major projects. So we have large dump trucks, we have large semis, tractors going up and down our streets continually during the week. And we see South Locust, Coyote Springs neighborhood, Buck Run neighborhood as a residential street. We've always thought of it as being a residential street. There are children that live on the street, the people, homes, et cetera, not a commercial street. And it's become very much a commercial thoroughfare, whereas in the past, not so much. As Sisters grows, we're concerned that we're going to see more of this. Paul Bertagna has worked with me. I was president of the board of the Coyote Springs Homeowners Association. He's always been cognizant of the traffic. We had an issue once with speeding. I had to come to the city mayor or the city council at that point about speeding. So he was very forthright in getting people to slow down. It's a 20-mile-an-hour zone, but you have a semi or a dump truck going 20, but they usually go 30, 35. And for them to stop for a dog, for a child, for someone walking, it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous. So I'm not proposing, but what I would think is hope is that there's a possible different egress and exit for the city courtyard that doesn't involve a residential street. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
I also sent a statement to Sarah, and it was signed by about 50 neighbors in the area, and she said she forwarded it on to you folks.
We received it.
All right, thank you.
And Bob, I live on South Locust as well.
Michael.
Okay.
For those on Zoom, if you would like to participate in visitor communication, please raise your hand now. There are none.
Okay, thank you. Okay, consent agenda. Does anyone have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve an amended consent agenda, removing item 6B, city council trainings, from the consent agenda for separate consideration.
Can you explain what that means, just so I know
Yeah.
what I'm voting for? Are we
Yeah.
going to talk about this separately later in the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, we can move that.
And I'll second the amended consent agenda.
And just to, I'm sorry, just to clarify, move that to the end of council business? Or into other
I mean, you could
business?
approve the consent agenda and then discuss items removed from consent agenda as the next.
Right.
As the next item?
Typically how it's done.
Okay, sure. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and we can now discuss consent agenda item B.
So I looked further into one of the courses that I had requested, which is the LOC Community Engagement. And it's not what I expected when I looked at the syllabus, and it's a Portland State University course. When I looked further into that, it's not what I'm interested in. So I'm requesting to remove that from the list of training that we're going to be approving here tonight.
Thank you, budget conscious Councilor Pellerin.
Just time conscious.
Yep.
Spend your time on something that'll be useful.
Point of order, I don't believe we need a motion or anything on that. I think it's just a revision to that particular agenda item.
It's been removed from the consent agenda, so you would need to do an approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I move to approve the upcoming trainings list, removing the first item, LOC Community Engagement, for Councilor Pellerin.
Second?
All right. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Then don't you do that again.
I just wanted to see.
Clear as mud.
I know. Ruins the flow. All right, we can move on to council business. At this point, first item up on council business is the Adams Avenue streetscape contract with Deschutes Construction Corp. And Paul Bertagna is not here. There he is. Wow, larger than life. Paul Bertagna is here to walk us through this. Thank you for joining us.
No problem. Sorry for not being there in person. But we can do this over the video call without a problem, I think. So just wanted to give you a little background on the project. You all are very familiar with it. You have been dealing with not only design approvals, but budget approvals, helping staff to come up with a funding solution for the project, which that's what's been keeping this project on the shelf for the last 2 or 3 years since we did the design in 2022. And this past year, yourselves acting as urban renewal agency in your goal setting session approved the Adams Avenue streetscape as a high priority project. So staff went back to the original design team with Hickman Williams and Associates, took the 100% design that was done in 2022, refreshed it. We did quite a bit more work, including some dry utility work, since we're going to be replacing the entire roadway. Any chance to get dry utilities, any of our utilities in before we pave it is optimal. So we did that exercise working with Central Electric, got actually quantities of conduit and power vaults included in our bid that they will reimburse us for. The reason for doing this is to you have one contractor doing all the work, and so they're not trying to coordinate who's in front of who and playing hopscotch with excavators and dump trucks. They can put it into their schedule, and it can flow, a lot more seamless. So we decided to go that route, and hopefully that'll work out for us. We put the bid out in January and opened bids at the end of February. We received 6 bids. The low bid was Deschutes Construction, and looking at the bid tabs, calculating everybody's math, there were errors, I believe, in 4 of the actual bid tabs that we received, 4 out of the 6. So first thing we do, send it to the attorney, let them analyze it, come back to us with a recommendation. They looked at it as a clerical error, basically a math error on Deschutes Construction's side, that even with the error, they were still the low bid. So they recommended awarding the bid to Deschutes Construction at the actual unit price that they bid, which raised the bid price, unfortunately, about $96,000. So with that, we're still about $3.553 million. We had budgeted $3.5 million. I just wanted to clarify, I had that all coming out of the urban renewal. I was wrong. That is split between urban renewal and the parking district fund. You remember that we budgeted about $360,000 out of the parking district fund as a contribution to the project. So just coming out of the urban renewal will be about $3.14 million. So with that, a little bit on schedule and timing, we, with an approval tonight, we'll be having the pre-construction meeting with Deschutes Construction early next week, getting them on the project as soon as possible, because we'd like to focus on getting that west side, the commercial end of the project from Pine to Fir, done before, as soon as we can. And it'll definitely leak into summer a little bit, but we want to get that first phase done before we move to the east end, the more residential end, that we can work through the remaining of the summer and into the fall to get completed. So with that, I'll kick it back to you guys, and more than happy to answer any questions.
Paul, this is Cheryl.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. The last bullet states that the project is scheduled to be substantially completed by September 30th, 2026. What work would remain after this contract was completed?
So if there were anything that they were having difficulty getting as far as procurement wise, it's kind of, the finishing touches of the project. We would still, basically we want to make sure that everything on the bid schedule gets billed out for the unit quantities that they put in. And if there's a little bit of cleanup, those type of things, could be striping, kind of that frosting on the cake type stuff, could leak into October. But we want excavators and dump trucks out of there, with the road open, drivable, sidewalks open, everything safe for, vehicles, pedestrians, and bicycles.
So let me ask you a little differently. Thank you for that. After the complete 3,552,000, et cetera, is spent, then what else would remain for this project, if anything? Does this bid conclude the entire project?
It does. It does. Yep.
Okay.
It is full soup to nuts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I got 2 questions, Paul. By starting at the west end, Pine Street, and working east, we should have minimal impact to the foot traffic and stuff at the end of September for the Folk Festival. Would that be a safe assumption?
Correct. That's one of the driving forces for getting that west end done.
Thank you for doing that. And then the second question is, were you able to hear Mr. Barker's comments a little earlier?
Yeah.
Are we planning to utilize the grounds out at the end of Locust Street for staging like we were for the pump station, or should it be less impact on them?
No, definitely not. We don't want all those trucks crossing the highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they'll be staging on the north side of the highway.
yeah, and I will say that Taylor Northwest tractors are very loud, so that's probably part of the issue, I think, more so than the traffic. It's that when they come out of that stop sign, that guy, I can hear him in my house when he throttles up, so my windows rattle when he goes by. Thank you.
And I have a couple questions, Paul. These won't shock you. One, there's a line item in there for bark mulch. Is that something will we be utilizing, or is that kind of a catch-all for ground cover? I mean, it seems like we were maybe moving towards gravel, especially downtown, or I wasn't sure where. It's line 51.
Yeah, so the mulch is actually an additive, essentially to benefit our topsoil. It's going to be put in with the amendment. So that is kind of the biofines that you get from the rose pit over at Not Landfill, not bark mulch.
Okay.
So we'll be finishing off the project with either crushed stone or decomposed granite.
Okay. Great. And then, yeah, plantings will be, I know it's not really required, but just in the spirit of, defensible space, the plant list?
Not on the prohibited plant list.
Yeah, not on the prohibited plant list. Thank you.
Absolutely. And there actually is no conifers on the project. They're all more street tree, deciduous type plantings.
Okay, thank you. And then I just saw under bike racks, there was a request for 5, which is great. I have a feeling that there might be a need for more than that, but is there an opportunity as the project evolves, if there's a sense that we might need more than that in locations to add that? Is that usually kind of a later in the process addition?
Absolutely. I think we can look at it with you all as well as PWAB to get the final locations once we start seeing. That'll be, again, the icing on the cake, one of the last things they do. And we have a unit price, so obviously we can add on to that.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I do have another one I thought of.
Okay.
This potentially could be coinciding with some of the Habitat for Humanity Large Commons project on Adams there. Has there been discussion about that and any concerns and how that's going to be coordinated?
So they will have their site work. They will not have any of their public right-of-way work. That's already done. So we've already worked with them to get those improvements, those frontage improvements done according to our plans and specs for the Adams project. So and you've seen it when you've driven down there. Yeah, it's pretty much done. There'll be final landscaping that has to go in, but in general, they're 90% complete.
Thank you.
And with the businesses on Adams, mostly on that west end of it, I'm sure they've all been contacted and
yes,
about this project. And are just for everybody's interest and knowledge, are there going to be any, is the street going to be closed, or are we just going to kind of do a 1-lane thing, or a flagger, or how are people going to access their properties during this time?
All of the above. We're gutting the street, the entire 80-foot right-of-way. So we will be impacting parking, we'll be impacting sidewalks, pedestrian connectivity. That's going to be something that the contractor and myself are going to have to articulate to the businesses and keep their access and pedestrian connectivity as stable as we can during the project. But there will be inconvenience, there will be construction, there will be noise, there will be vibration from compactors. So we've already been working with the business owners. They're aware of it. We're working on contingency plans on people being able to use different access points to get into their parking lots. But it will be a little bit of hopscotch to do with the contractor once they're on board.
Is this a Monday through Friday or 7 days a week project?
Won't be 7, potentially 6. Could be Monday through Saturday, depending on. We typically don't see that with prevailing wage because overtime rates get so high. So we'll know more when we meet with the contractor early next week.
Okay.
And I have one thing. Paul, we've been working on this for a long time. And I just wanted to say you've done a really good job about captaining this project for the past 3 or 4 councils that have worked on it. And it's been fun to see the design come along. And I just wanted to say congratulations to you to getting it over the line. And I think Sisters is going to highly benefit from this project. I think people don't understand how connected Adams Avenue is going to be to the rest of downtown, because the sidewalks are going to come down all the side streets, and all the alleys between Adams and Main on the north side are going to all connect and have curbs. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a huge transformation. And what you're going to see over the next 6 months is downtown's going to get 1 block bigger. And it's a super project. And the next thing you'll see, as soon as construction is done, you're going to see a lot of old houses come down, and you're going to see a lot of empty lots get developed over the next 5 years. Yep. Watch it. Yep. So thank you for all your hard work, and I'm excited to watch it go.
We are too. Thanks.
And I have one last question. I'm looking at the background behind you. I hope you're someplace pleasant with water.
You don't need to.
I gotta say,
You
I
don't
should
need to
probably
say any
say
more than that.
Yeah.
it sucks. It's too hot and the water's too blue, and yeah, it sucks.
The ceiling fan gave it away.
The dolphins are too friendly. Yeah. So wish I was home.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to clarify on your comment, you're not inaccurate. We are not tearing houses down.
No,
we are not doing that. We are not doing that. But that might occur.
No, and
redevelopment.
Well, this is an urban renewal project, and that's what we're doing. We're renewing this area of town, and it's going to improve a lot. And people have been waiting for this for a long time. There's a lot of people that are going to gladly sell or develop their properties and improve it. And that's the whole point of this, is to spur development. So thank you again.
And I would add to that, when I was working the Seafood and Wine Festival, actually, a person come up to me that knew I was here and said, we've got a piece of property on Adams that we're getting ready to revert to something different. So they're waiting for the improvements as well.
Yeah, and quick explanation, most of this money is coming out of our urban renewal agency for that urban renewal. And why are we spending tax dollars to pay for all these improvements? It's so that it will spur development, more houses, more businesses downtown, which then brings up those property values, which then they pay property taxes back to the city. So it's kind of taking the dollar state and investing in the future, and then it gets returned to us in the future. So I just kind of want to explain why we're putting so much money into this particular project. So, all right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve a public improvement contract to Deschutes Construction Corporation in an amount not to exceed $3,552,956.50 for the construction of the Adams Avenue Streetscape Improvement Project, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract.
Why, I can second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, no nays.
Thanks, Paul.
That passes. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Paul.
Good
Enjoy
job.
yourself.
Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you next week.
Looking
Okay.
forward
Sounds
to it.
good.
Well, that and the project. Next up, Republic Service Notice of Termination, and Jordan Wheeler will walk us through this.
Thank you, Mayor. Last meeting on February 25th, you had a workshop about the solid waste franchise agreement and some of the recent developments regarding other communities in Deschutes County and the county and issuing notices of termination of their franchise agreements with their solid waste haulers. Tim Brunell from the county joined us to help answer questions and kind of talk about the next steps forward in this countywide effort to have a consistent process for developing a franchise agreement with all the communities involved with that, leading to eventually an RFP process to seek new haulers for the new franchise, to be obligated for the new franchise agreements that we would develop in coordination with each other. So tonight really is just coming back to get the council's full approval on that. Like I said, Redmond issued their notice of termination in 2023, Ben in late 24, and the Deschutes County just did it recently, or I should say 25, and then Deschutes County just did it recently as well. So we're the last here to kind of go through this effort, but there's, as we talked about at the workshop, a lot of advantages for the City of Sisters to be a part of this collective effort with the county to work on modernizing our franchise agreement, looking at things like customer service standards and financial reporting, sustainability metrics too, for ensuring the haulers are using assets in our county. And then it starts a clock, right, for 6 years, and that's one of the provisions in the franchise. I think that is problematic for communities, is the franchise term. So this notice of termination starts that 6-year time frame, right, for the full termination, but that also gives it time for the City of Sisters and Bend and Redmond and Deschutes County to work collectively on the new franchise framework, and then going through an RFP process. So looking for a motion from council tonight to authorize the city manager to issue that notice of termination to our solid waste franchisee, who is Republic Services, and that begins that 6-year wind down period for the existing agreement. I have the letter ready to go upon your approval to hit send either tonight or tomorrow. So we'll start that clock.
All right. Any more questions? We've discussed this a little bit before.
I'd like to address the public just a little bit. If they're still under contract with us for 6 years, if you see a big downturn in your services, please let us know, because there's still our trash and refuse service. We don't expect them to change anything. They'll probably do just fine over the next 6 years. Maybe a little shorter if we get things done faster, but we want them to work with us, to continue to work with us. We're just putting them on notice because contractually we have to give them 6 years notice. And so getting a regional group together of all of our jurisdictions and doing it right for the next time, whether it's for public services or not, I don't think it'll be Republic Service, but whoever the next person is, they're going to be under notice that we need a little better service and have a little favorable contractual obligations, especially in the customer service area. So that's why we're doing this. And we hope you guys support that and understand that. There you go.
Do you know if Lapine is doing this, or they're considering it?
They have a different service.
Yeah, they have a different
They
hauler.
have South County refuse. I don't know the name of it. I'm sorry, but I don't.
Right, yeah. But is it under all the same? Usually at the county level, all of this is the same, the franchise agreements. Am I incorrect there?
I don't know. I don't know what their, actually, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not sure what their franchise agreement looks like. I haven't looked it up.
Okay.
And
just out of
they're
curiosity.
fairly happy with their trash, though, so I can tell you that, if that's anything.
So you're asking about the county surrounding the actual city of Lapine?
No, or just the city too, because it's, the county is kind of the overarching, to my knowledge, and tell me if I'm wrong, they're the one that kind of has the overarching agreements with the waste haulers in the county. I mean, there's like limits to the number of waste haulers we can have in the county, and contracts, things like that. Is that correct, or am I
Probably a
wrong
question for
about
Tim.
that?
I mean, they have their own agreements with 2 of the haulers in the county. Lapine would have their own franchise agreement.
I don't even know if they tip in Deschutes County, to be honest with you. I'm not sure.
I don't know either. That's a good question.
Well, the transfer station down there.
There's one
Yeah.
between there and Sun Road.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's certainly all
It's
county run.
a good question, though, because
Yeah.
they're the only ones that aren't doing what we're doing. So
Yeah. All right. Well, I will ask. Okay. Anyone have a motion?
I move to authorize the city manager to issue a notice of termination in the solid waste collection franchise to the solid waste collection franchise holder operation in the city of Sisters, initiating the 6-year wind down period.
I enthusiastically second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. No nays, the motion passes. All right, and that's it for council business, so we're on to other business. Jordan Wheeler, do you have any response to prior meeting comments?
I don't believe there was any public comment other than a very important announcement from Peter Hoover about progress on the Habitat for Humanity projects here in town, but I don't think there was any questions or comments to respond to on that.
Nothing important you're saying. No.
Well, this period of time is for responding to any public comments. If there was questions or research that we had to do, and we're continuing to work with Peter on, the affordable and workforce housing agreements and this project at Large Commons too. So, on to staff comments. Spring break is coming up. A lovely time of year. We'll go from snow to
Snow
to potentially pretty unseasonably warm weather next week.
Yeah,
but
bikini weather.
yeah. So I hope everybody has a good time over spring break. I will be gone that week over the break. City Hall will still be open. We still have staff here. But I understand there will be some vacations from councilors as well. So that meeting has been canceled. As a reminder, our next meeting will be April 8th for the City Council. And we'll see you then with another full slate of items on the agenda. One thing that we've been working on with communications, I just wanted to continue to put this on your radar, that we may be reaching out. Monica may be reaching out actually about the Councilor Corner pieces in our newsletters and potentially submitting those to the Nugget for getting the word out about various council goals and other projects we're working on, but from the perspective of city councilors. So it's an opportunity to use your own individual voice, but try to stay within the lane of a council goal or something that the body, the elected body, are all consistent with in terms of your direction and vision for the city. Reminder about Trinity Place, the groundbreaking. Bring your hard hats. I think they provide them actually, so don't bring that unless you have one you really want to wear. There's a bunch of stickers and fun stuff on it. I mentioned in a recent report about Gateway Park, and tonight about Pacific Crest bus lines using the hub starting, I think it was last week when they officially began that, so great to see that. But the other news from that, Kittleson and Associates, who did the kind of design and plan for the mobility hub, they did submit for an Engineering Excellence Award through sort of the Associated Body Engineering Consultants Conference or whatever, and unfortunately, staff couldn't make it. It was over in Portland, last month or in January. But the project did receive an honor award for small communities for the work there. So congratulations on a well-designed and well-implemented project. And then legislative update. You probably saw the news about the end of the short session concluded last week, and Doug Riggs had sent out, I think I forwarded their breakdown, and I think LLC will have a recap this Friday at noon if you're interested in participating in that call. But major highlights, actually a pretty active short session. It wasn't looking like it for a while, and then it kind of all came together at the last minute there. But the TLT bill with the 50-50 split, which doesn't really affect us except for council someday wanted to think about future TLT. Sorry, I didn't even bring that up. But the 50-50 split between the portion going towards tourism versus city services. There was some fixes to some of the problems from interpretations of Oregon government ethics laws around meals and meetings, right, where some of the recent interpretations, had brought up questions about whether, even councilors meeting with staff could constitute a serial meeting and things like that. So, the legislature kind of took an attempt to make some fixes there. Probably going to have to come back and do some further clarifications to make sure that the public is, able to access public meetings and public business is being done in the public. And then recreation liability waivers. That was an interesting kind of up and down, multiple bills being proposed, but amendments got through with the bill that was favored, and so it looks like Oregon recreation providers are happy that that liability waiver bill went through. One that we had an interest in, and thank you to Representative Levy for her help in supporting the recreation liability, the capping the grant matching for small communities. So this includes things like the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department grants, where our match now is going to be capped because we're a small community. So that saves our citizens money right there. So happy to see that. You probably read about the transportation bill package that was passed at the last long session, is going to be referred to the voters to May, and there was some legal questions of whether that was legal to be able for the legislature to move that from the November to the May ballot. It appears so. You may see that now on the ballot here coming up in a few months. And then another one that I wanted to highlight, there was a bill that broadened the definition for qualified entities for transportation providers, and so that would include now COIC, which governs over CET. So I'm sure this is probably a good question for COIC and what that really means, but it isn't, a way for them to get additional funding as a qualified entity for federal and state funds, I believe. So that's good news for the region to be able to have more opportunities for funding our mass transportation or mass transit system here in Central Oregon. So, any questions about any of all that? Yeah.
The ethics one, I got a chuckle at because I can remember back in the early 2000s when if you had a gathering and food was served, you couldn't sit down. If you did, you had to claim it on your SEL form. If you stood up, you didn't have to. There was actually a court ruling on that at one point. So,
yeah, and part of that interpretation was serving meals at public meetings.
Right.
Probably could it be compensation, and
yeah,
it's de minimis.
That's exactly what that was based on. So
right. Yep. All right, that's the updates from me, and then we have staff. And who wants to go first? Carrie, you ready? Yeah.
So a couple of updates. Your statement of economic impact, speaking of those, are going to be released on March 15th. They're due by April 15th, and I will continually send reminders as people are or don't have them done. Just an update, the CLA cohort was chosen this week. We had 21 applications for our 12 spots. It was I think it's a really great cohort. Councilor Pellerin and Jordan and Kellen Klein and Jane Paxson of C4C were on that committee. And then it was released earlier today, but the topic they'll be working on is elected official compensation, options, and community input. So giving us kind of a boost before the new year goals go into place. Explore Sisters.
Carrie?
Yes.
When will that list be published?
Not until Kellen reaches out to everybody and then finds out if we need to move any alternates in place.
So maybe in a couple weeks or ish?
Probably within the next 10 days, I would imagine that'll be out. But yeah, it'll be a little bit still. Explore Sisters met a couple of weeks ago, and you did just see the report that I sent to you earlier this week. Scott Humper will be in person on April 22nd to review that progress report with the council as a presentation. And then the Partnership on Houselessness, we had a meeting this morning. Neighbor Impact spoke today. We're having just different entities come in and speak to the group. We had Rick Russell with Safe Parking speak in January, but Neighbor Impact came today. They were great. It was their houseless group, or their housing group that came. And then our next meeting, we're going to talk about, in May, fire prevention with the unhoused, and our safety group will be taking that as lead, so it'll be an in-house conversation next time. The MAC, which is a multi-agency coordination group, which I take part in monthly, was able to award $150,000 to Mountain View Community Development, which is part of the Safe Parking Program, and that helped kind of feed the gap with some cuts that had happened with them. So that was great news for that group. And then COIC was confirmed as a regional coordinator for the statewide shelter program. So they administer contracts, assessment and planning, monitoring and compliance, and convene cross-system partners. So that's what the MAC does. but CYC was not that statewide partner until recently, so that's great. So the MAC is mostly about expending money that's been given, so that's one of the roles that they do. And then there's been a lot of House lists this week, so Crow met on Monday, and I'll have Sarah can speak to that as well, but the point-in-time count went well. We've got feedback both today from folks that did it here locally and from Deschutes Behavioral Health, and it was really very successful in a Sisters area. We will not get numbers, even preliminary, back, probably, I'm guessing, till late April or early May. So they did feel like, David Fox felt like the count here was, and Jeremy Fields and Dana all thought the count was very accurate here in Sisters. And then, gosh, I think that's it. Any questions?
Do you know why it takes so long to get the number out?
So they have to go through, this is a federal process, so it's through HUD, and there was a portal that had not, if I'm remembering this right, Sarah, was not opened yet as of Monday. They were hoping that it would open by March 15th, and they couldn't even input yet. So, and they also spoke about, they'd done preliminary out prior in different years, and what they found was they always had to make adjustments, and then there was 2 sets of numbers out. One wasn't correct, and so they really just want to make sure they're getting the right data out. So that's part of that process.
All right, thank you.
All right, my turn. Bumblebee. Haven't spoken yet tonight. Okay, so for finance, got a couple things here. The first is an idea I've been thinking about for quite a while, and regarding the budget committee. So, regarding the engagement of budget committee, we try to let them know about any kind of finance-centric topics that are coming up during regular council meetings. We also offer them the opportunity to meet one-on-one with myself, and any other staff if they'd like to. But other than that, it's always in the back of my mind that we just don't see them very much, maybe one time a year. And I feel like during the formal budget meetings, there's just a lot of information coming to them at once. And maybe there's some of these the smaller or bigger issues that come to their mind that maybe they don't feel are appropriate to ask about during that meeting. That's not any feedback they've given me. I just kind of get that sensation. So one of the things we've talked about was doing a kind of a budget committee workshop, and that workshop could be a few weeks before the budget committee meetings. We would not be able to cover the forthcoming budget, the 26-27 budget, but we could cover the current year and any other questions they have. And we could cover things like, how do we come up with the housing reserve? Or what is an internal service charge? How do we calculate the copier allocation? I don't know, anything that they might be curious about. So we've got kind of a rough agenda, and I've actually talked to the budget committee about this, and they were supportive of that. And obviously, being part of the budget committee, you all would be invited to do that too. I don't think it would take too long. We were thinking about an hour or so. And I have a kind of a rough outline, but for the most part, it can be open-ended, right? Because, the budget committee and yourselves are the curious ones. And there's so many line items there that this could be a good opportunity for people just to ask questions that they felt that they maybe couldn't otherwise, or provide feedback to the process they wouldn't maybe otherwise, even though they are given that opportunity to do that. So anyway, we have reached out to the budget committee about kind of a tentative time, and right now it's April 29th, I think, and probably like late morning. I believe that's a Wednesday. I'm sorry. Yes. So let me know what you guys think about that. If there's anything that you would like to cover in that meeting, then great. Hopefully that timeline can work for you. Let me know if it doesn't. And then I'm open to any feedback you have about the idea.
I like the idea, first of all, and budget committee is something that I did before I came on council. And I might even throw out another idea, is maybe your mid-year budget update to council, you could invite the budget committee to, just to see how the numbers are working or something. I don't know if that's something that would be valuable to them, to come to that city council workshop or meeting, that you do that. They might want to see how it's going, and they might get a little pride about what they saw and did. I don't know. But I think it's a good idea to get them more involved, for sure. And I'm open on the 29th myself. I just looked.
Okay.
Well, if Michael's open, we're good.
Yeah, that's it.
All right.
I could be the only one that shows up. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
No, I don't think it hurts anybody to learn more about budget processes and.
Yeah. There's a lot of uniqueness to it, especially for folks that, are just familiar more with, for-profit accounting, kind of the nuances of governmental accounting.
What's that? No.
I appreciate it, Joe. I think that taking away like the formal piece allows more questions. People are less nervous, that kind of situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
Good. Sounds good.
Okay. So my second topic here is kind of another brainstorming item that is I've been kind of thinking about for a while now, and that's regarding the audit presentation. Now, in the past, as you well know, the audit presentation has kind of seen a lot of different forms, from very brief to very lengthy and maybe a little bit too far in depth. So, we were trying to brainstorm a way to kind of make that process a little bit more effective and efficient, but still carrying the transparency that an independent audit report does. And so I emailed you all this idea, and I think what we could do is during an exit, kind of a fieldwork exit or an engagement exit. So in other words, kind of the lead accountant would be on a call with Jordan, myself, and two of you, and we can kind of cover how the engagement was, any kind of items of note in the engagement, and then in the following meeting or after the report is prepared, that report could be available to you in a council packet, and then the two councilors that were in on that meeting could comment on that field work, and then I could comment on the report as well. And I think that I'm comfortable doing that. I think the things that are in that report that would be more applicable and provide a little bit more kind of materiality to you all. And then obviously the counselors could provide that input as well. So that's just an idea that I had, not to kick them out of the process, but just to make it, still transparent, but at the same time being a little bit more effective for your eyes and ears, and the public's eyes and ears too, for that matter.
When you talk about historically, sometimes the audits have been pretty concise and sometimes they've been quite lengthy. What usually drives the difference?
Oh gosh, I wish I knew. I think that sometimes the engagement, if it's an engagement partner, they'll go really deep into the report, right? And they'll talk about deferred inflows, deferred outflows of health insurance. And honestly, at the end of the day, that doesn't really affect a lot of the decisions that you all are making in this. It's largely, healthy funds, healthy budget, any items that were identified during the audit that were, of note, that the staff needs to work on, it's things like that. And so they will go down that road, and then we've had, other times where it's been a little more brief, and then some of the topics that they've covered, maybe it's a staff member has covered that aren't really applicable again to the actual audit and the field work. I mean, they want to give you guys the value that you're paying for, honestly, and that an independent auditor should give. And so I feel like we can deliver that in a good message that you all want. Again, we're still keeping the transparency of an independent audit.
Wasn't it an auditor from a while back that gave you a B++ on the audit?
Yeah, no grades. So
he didn't give A's, so he gave him a B++.
Yes.
And boy, we laughed about
the
that
great
for
Rob
a
Tremper,
couple of years.
Yep.
So. He was one of the lengthy, I think he was one of the lengthy auditors. We had an hour or more on the audit.
I have sat personally through 30 audits of public entities, 18 of them as an elected official. I have seen them go for 2 hours where all you want to do is lay back and snore. And I've seen ones that are clear, concise, and well-placed and presented, which really gives the panel the basis to make a decision. I think your idea is a good one, because I think it allows a little more interaction with the auditor at a less formal level. And then when they come in for the presentation to the public at the next meeting, it can be a better use of our time. I always dreaded them, I will tell you that. Some of the ones here recently I have not dreaded. They're actually,
they're pretty good.
Very good, but I have seen some that think that paid me this money, I'm going to prove to you that I did something.
Yeah, you know, even if you give them a time limit, they're sure to knock it out of the park. And I guess, you know, just in terms of process, what do you think? Maybe, I mean, if you don't have to decide now, you know, what two might be involved. Do you guys want to think about it maybe a little bit first, or what do you feel about that?
So we're all on the budget committee, and
Right.
and we're all counselors. So is this, by attending this audit committee, being part of this audit committee, are we there as counselors, or are we there as budget committee members?
Well, a little bit of both. A little bit of both. Mostly counselors, budget committee members. I mean, their main goal is just to approve the budget. So mainly as counselors, and then to share that meeting and the summary of that with your fellow counselors. Yeah.
We draw straws.
I think I heard Councilor Ross likes
You do not
audits.
you do not want me in that room. You do not. But
Yeah, I
thank
mean,
you very
it's,
much for the volunteer.
it sounds fine to me, but if anybody needs to think about it, that's fine.
Yeah, part of me feels that we all should hear everything. You know, that we should all equally understand the auditor, be presented the audit. But I also see the efficiencies of time. So I need a little more time to definitively say what I feel about on it.
It's one of those things where, you know, we've been working with Joe for a long time, and he runs a good ship. I mean, and he's really great at it. And I'm like, yeah, for efficiency, I'm all for it. But if we had a guy that wasn't Joe, that was not so good at it, we'd want everybody to hear every word that was said. So I think as long as Joe's running the show, I'm like, I'm okay with it, but I'd be really scared to change policy and then have somebody come in that was not very competent or something, because then we wouldn't have full information, right? So that's kind of where I'm thinking. I agree with you, and I can kind of see where I might want to think about this and we'll get some volunteers.
That's fine. We can follow up on that later.
When typically is our audit? Remind me what month we usually do it.
It's usually like late winter, early spring. So,
late winter or early spring. So it's coming up. You need a decision by a certain time to do this, or you want?
I mean, it's not imminent, but I mean, if the sooner the better. Yeah.
I would add, it's not an uncommon model. You know, in some cities even have like big cities might even have an audit committee or something like that. And there still is the public disclosure of the audit, right? There still is in the packet, it gets presented, you know, it's there. I mean, it's a very important public document. It's just a matter of the presentation of it and just trying to streamline that time and reduce it down to, you know, have a couple counselors who can dive into the details, but at the public meeting or whatever, it's here are the top line summary. Hey, it's a clean audit, things look good.
So it still comes before us as a body.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe that's okay then. I don't know.
To get to what Councilor,
my name's Michael.
I know, thank you, Michael. My brain's not working. Said, I will say that at one point I was in an agency where on a board where the superintendent hid things in the budget. The budget presentations went 4 to 5 days for the budget committee, and they were so convoluted it was like trying to find a snake in the bottom of a canyon. And those audits I paid a heck of a lot of attention to, and they caught a lot of discrepancies. Needless to say, that individual wasn't around very long. But the point I'm trying to make is that when you have a solid and sound finance department, which we have here, and a solid and sound divisional leader, which we have here, the audit is an important document, but it becomes a lot clearer and cleaner for us to look at than it does when you actually have concerns about whether or not money is being spent appropriately, which was the case in this individual. So, you know, I'm okay with it either way, but I do think that we are lucky in that our audits tend to be clean because business is done here in a way that's upfront and transparent and clean, and both lead to a clean audit.
And I would also, I mean, I think that the other thing you could do is, you know, the two counselors, if they felt that it was maybe worthy of being presented by the auditor in the meeting, that would be a choice. I mean, this is not something adopted by resolution. This is kind of just a practice that we're testing out. So if you would want to change that at any time, I mean, that would be okay with me.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, then just one last thing. So talking about Adams Avenue streetscape. So we've have a term sheet ready to go with U.S. Bank. So if you remember Adams Avenue, we've got a line of credit right now with U.S. Bank. It's for $2 million. We've not needed to draw on that, which has been great. But you know, as the timeline for this project has come up, we pursued kind of debt options, and then kind of just sharpened up our maximum indebtedness with our contractor that is kind of an expert in URAs. So we've got that term sheet in place. Our bond counsel is looking at it. We'll probably close on that, I would say, within 30 to 45 days, and then we'll have $4.15 million from that proceeds in our bank to that project and some of the other projects in the URA.
And
that's all I have.
And we'll talk about that at the budget meeting. That'll be the time when we talk about the URA
Yeah, so
allocations.
yeah, we will, and that was in this year's budget as well, and it will probably, as Paul said, it's going to overlap. So we're going to try to get as close as we can, with that capital project timing for the fiscal years. But yeah, definitely something of note during the budget process.
And we'll talk about it again at our next URA meeting as well.
Yeah. Yep. All right, that was longer than usual, so
Yeah.
thank you. That's all I have,
Yeah.
unless you have any questions for me.
No, that's great. Thank you.
All right, thanks for listening.
Just a few project updates. Not as exciting and big as flashy as Adams Avenue, but we did open bids for the Camp Polk multi-use path project today. All bids were well under budget, so we're still reviewing those, checking for completeness and errors, but we're excited to complete that project for pedestrian connectivity. That is connecting the new sidewalks on Barclay with Sun Ranch to the north. So creating another pedestrian loop and getting connectivity where there is none currently. We have boxes of security cameras arriving every so often. So we're having a kickoff meeting tomorrow with our project team about that project. Hoping to get installation in very soon. And that's again for City Hall and the Public Works HQ facility. And we have received updates about the Cascade Avenue curb ramp project. The ODOT website has been updated to reflect construction beginning by April. So we are maintaining a web page on our website with some major updates, but also linking to that ODOT web page just in case folks have questions about that, we can point them in the right direction.
Can I ask a question on that? When do they think they're going to be done? Not before summer, right? No. It's just going to take too long, right? It's going to go into through summer,
According
right?
to their website, December 2026.
Okay. There you go.
Based on my experience in Newport and also what I've been observing in Redmond.
Oh, Redmond.
The contractor is very slow.
They're from the valley.
They come in and they dig something out, then it sits for 2 weeks, then they put in some forms, and it sits for 2 weeks, then they pour some concrete and it sits for 2 weeks. And so it is a very slow process. At least we don't have any gas lines for them to cut when they're busy digging.
Anyway, thank you.
But yeah, just having to understand that we'll have that going on concurrent with Adams Avenue as well. So.
We're going to catch flack. I mean, we just will.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the more communication, the better.
Yeah.
With the community.
All of us. Yeah.
It literally took them almost 1.5 years to do 4 city blocks on Highway 20.
Yeah, our hope, I think we're the end of the line. We're the last community for them to start this project. So, maybe they'll be eager to finish that contract and get through it this summer. One more public works item. Paul addressed some of it, right, during the questioning with Adams and staging of items. We can talk about this the next meeting. I know there's a gap for a month now, but the public comment from Mr. Baker about the construction traffic. The update there is, we expect a lot less traffic, right, with the completion or a lot of the work on the west side pump station is complete in terms of the earthwork and the materials needed. They're storing, I think, gravel at the HQ site. Most of that is gone, if not all, at this point. So in terms of heavy truck traffic, that should be, really reduced at this time. And there's no other contractors at the moment besides Rickabaugh that was using the site. So the rest of the traffic really is, our public works staff. Depending on the time of year, we may have, our Vector truck and, other equipment, or backhoe, comes in and out of there. But hopefully, we'll really see the reduced traffic from contractors using Locust. Long term, though, there really isn't any other access. That's our primary access. That plant's been there since 2008. As the city grows, sure, we'll probably add a few, utility workers here and there. But there's not really any other way to get to that site. And then, as the public commenter made the point, if the fire district has a facility there as well where they do trainings, and that can include fire trucks and things like that going to that site. So, I think we're aware of this. I think this has been brought up before about, the impacts of construction traffic there and noise and things like that. And I think we just need to be mindful as we look at staging into the future and asking those questions about where they might be staged. So again, we can, when Paul's back and stuff, we could talk more about this. But I don't know if there's like an easy fix in the near term, other than saying, this project is getting close to completion in terms of the activity from contractors like Rickabaugh using that site.
Well, in fairness, like I said to Mr. Baker, I expect the traffic that's part of the city to come and go up and down that street, whether it's the street sweeper or the vac truck or anything like that. But I will say that this particular hauler, they're big, tall, straight stacks, big chrome straight stacks that go up without much of a muffler in them, and they're very, very loud, and they do Jake brake too going down through there, so it's loud. And unfortunately for Mr. Baker, he's right at the stop sign, so he's going to get that initial when they first start.
It's only during the day, right?
It's only during the day, but I suspect that he works a lot at night, and it probably would not be kind of hard to sleep if you were right there.
I have a question about that, and I'm not an expert, but that's not a local street. South Locust is an arterial, right? So it's...
No, it's 20.
Huh?
It's a 20.
It's 20, but it's not... Well, there's classifications of street and their traffic, right? According to traffic engineer. I think it's an arterial, not a local street.
You could be right, but I believe that when we did Washington, it was an arterial, so it had to be 25, and Locust could be 20.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, we obviously use it as a city. I'm not trying to diminish what's happening, but...
Would additional signage be appropriate? Listing the speed limit and, I don't know, muffler braking or anything like that?
I don't see the trucks going that fast past my house, and I'm in the middle. I frankly see residents, many of whom do not live on Locust Street, that utilize Locust to get to their areas, going by. There's a bump right across from my house, and you can tell by how fast they go, by how much air they get when they go over it. And a number of them are pretty good at it. And so, speed on that street's always been an issue, but I'm not as concerned about the truck traffic speed as I am about residential speed. I've seen animals get it up in front of the house more than once.
But 20 is plenty.
20 is plenty.
It always is.
Yeah.
So if I can just add a little perspective, I believe that Mr. Baker and his wife had spoken with Public Works and had been told that the project would wrap up in like a couple months, and then it just went on longer. And so I think that possibly some of their concerns were that it didn't stop when they thought it was going to stop.
I think so too.
And so, if we communicate back that actually this is wrapping up and it should just be city and fire traffic, not project traffic, that may change their perspective. So I think it might have just been a little bit of communication.
Maybe like more of a definitive date, as opposed to soon,
Yeah. And they spoke with me at the joint meeting of the State of the City address. It wasn't Dave, somebody else who lived on there that was on that signature sheet. And I indicated that, having talked, that we were wrapping that project up. So I may have misled them a little bit. But I think what it really means to me is that as we look at planning future big projects, is that the best place to stage some of the activities? I understand why it happened, why we did it, and it made sense, but we may need to think about that in the future. Or communicate to our service providers what our expectations are in terms of the type of vehicles they use.
Fair.
Okay. Do you or Jackson want to address the dead animal issue? Since
yeah,
I don't know if you have any specifics on the rules around that, or
our typical procedure for dead animals is removing them from the right-of-way. When I heard that it was on private property, I directed them to what I thought would help them best, ODFW. If we would like to change the direction on that, I'd hear that.
Yeah, new issue for me. I would be surprised that we had a policy that we would go on private property to remove animals. And maybe not uncommon when the town was small and a little bit more informal. I would want to talk to the city attorney first too about issues about accessing private property and things like that. Obviously, you're getting private property permission, but kind of in common that you would go onto private property for dead animal removal.
2 comments. When I first moved here, long before my being here, so I was just a resident, had dead deer in the back. I called the city, said, how do I get rid of it? And they said, no problem. Came down, picked it up, and hauled it off. So it has been done in the past. I'm not saying should or shouldn't. It has been done in the past. And my experience in the city of Eugene with something similar twice was that the city did come and remove them because they were concerned about the attractive nuisance of bringing predators into the area. So I don't know what we want to do, but I think it's what we're checking into. And I'm not trying to put a burden on staff out there, but I do know that I will say in defense that in my particular case, it was done, and I frankly was surprised. Not only was it done, but how quickly it was done.
Yeah,
So
I think it. Yeah, let us ask the question. I mean, there might be a reason why the policy changed, and I just want to know what made that change.
I do want to make it clear we haven't changed the policy since I've been on council about any of this. So it's probably a very old policy, and nobody really knows what it is or what's legal or whatever.
I wonder how common we've actually got those calls.
I've not heard anything about it in the whole time I've been up here. So I don't know.
I think it's probably more common for those of us that are along the creek.
Sure.
I don't know how that one I threw in the creek ended up. No, but common the creek, and I mean they cross the creek at my house is where most of the deer cross, and I do know that I've had at least one other person who lives in the area say, oh yeah, the city came and took one away. So I don't know. If somebody asked me what to do, I said call the city. I would have said the same thing based on my own personal experience, but that was long before I was on city council. So
see, up first for me, I thought that was the best path. Maybe ODFW had some resources for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to check into the legality of it.
Yeah, we'll check on
Paul might have some historical perspective. He's been here quite a long time. So.
I don't want to do any more guesswork. We can do some research.
It's on the radar now.
Ms. Cobb seems like she has a comment. Were you okay entertaining that?
What was that?
Susan has a comment.
Well, it's your meeting.
I know.
You can do it.
Yeah, if you have a quick comment. Sure.
So as a resident on Maple Lane, did I go there?
Yep.
About 3 years ago, I had a deer that was dead on my property. It was about 7 feet in from the little alley that I'm on, and I called Paul Bertania, and he said, is it 5 feet in? And I said, well, I think it's closer to 7, and he said, well, that'll be okay, but it's usually only 5 feet from whatever access road it is. That's what he said then.
Mine was the length of a house.
Okay, thank you.
And it did.
I had a question for Jackson or Jordan in regards to the security cameras, security systems. I know Lieutenant Davis had mentioned at his report last meeting about possible advantage of having them in other locations like parks or bathrooms or something like that. So I wasn't sure if that was part of this plan or if that needs to be revisited some other time.
It's kind of a phase one.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think as we have discussed before, yeah, just from the cost standpoint and kind of the rollout of these, we're focusing on certain key sites, priority areas with city assets, and then moving from there. Like the idea is eventually, yeah, the city parks and other locations will be covered.
Okay, thank you.
In response to the letter about the graffiti on the CEC boxes, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. Certainly, my experience in other areas was that they always wanted it reported to police because they track those tags and everything else. I know that when we've had it on some city property, that when they were able to identify them, they maybe go take it off, paint it or scrub it. It was a good lesson for teenagers. I'm not sure what we can or can't do about utility boxes. They're really property of Central Electric. And I'm presuming they wouldn't want anybody who works for the city applying paint to the utility boxes. It's probably their problem. I mean, in terms of cleaning up the graffiti. So, and based on my observations driving around Deschutes County, I don't think those utility boxes get cleaned up very much once they're painted. So I don't know anything we can do other than just be aware of it and be sure the sheriff's aware of it.
When we do get reports, we direct them to DCSO.
Yeah.
If possible, we can help them identify who the box is, provide them with some contact information so that they can reach out to the property owner. But again, like you said, working with law enforcement, make sure they can document
I think
it.
that's the best we can do. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think we actually have a code that addresses tagging and graffiti, right? Usually on a private property, DCSO gets involved and usually taken care of pretty fast, right? If it's on a building or a fence or something like that. Utility boxes, yeah, these utilities usually are slow to respond. It's low priority to go out there and do this.
And they are in the public right away.
And you're probably right that they probably don't want the city, trying to apply goof off or whatever to get that off. It's worth a conversation with them though, just to see, would they be open? It would be a lot faster response for us to do it, but again, they may have certain, if it's a power box or something like that, they may not want us, messing with it.
And I will say that the faster you can get graffiti cleaned up,
yeah,
the less likely you are to get more. Once something gets tagged, it becomes an attraction to tag over someone else's tag, and then it has to be a mess.
Yes.
I didn't get the feeling that we were being asked to do anything particular for this one, right? I mean, it was just more like, and I appreciate being told that we're getting graffiti. I mean, that's good to know.
Yeah.
But it might be worth exploring, and maybe we need to have some code on that, what we can and can't do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Councilor Ross. It's a slippery slope, very slippery slope. And it's best to do anything we can, legally, to mitigate it. So yeah, I think a conversation with CEC would be helpful to see, if there's anything we can do to assist. So, all right. Thank you. Scott?
So as you guys know, we contract with Deschutes County for our building permit services. The previous chief building official, Randy Scheid, has resigned recently, so they had advertised for a new official, and I was asked to be on the interview committee along with members of the development community and other building officials and the community development director for Lapine, because they contract similarly with the county. And happy to report that out of that process, Krista Appleby was named the chief building official. You'll know her from some of the public hearings she sat in on and workshops with the building hardening. Been a great asset to us through that process, and so we're excited for that and continue that great working relationship we have with the county. Be a nice seamless transition. So congratulations to her. As far as the UGB adoption, in talking with the county, it looks as though that they think they can get this in front of their planning commission and board earlier than I thought. So it's quite possible that we could be starting adoption hearings with the planning commission in May, with the possibility of a board and council joint meeting to consider adoption soon after that. So that just accelerates everything a little bit. We thought we had some more time with to get the annexation ordinance done, and that's all moved up. And I think it's a good news. It just means that everything's moving a little faster. So I told the planning commission they got to be ready. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming down for them between that and the annexation and area planning. So they're not going to be complaining about not being busy enough now.
Although the next meeting is canceled, right, the 19th?
Well, yes, we got to give them a little break before it hits.
Right, one short break, spring break.
That's spring break.
And hydrate.
So, yeah, Scott, so do you go and do the presentation? I mean,
At the county?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, MIG will still is contracted to help us out through those hearings. So it would be, I suppose, a combination of us and them presenting at the county.
But us meaning you. I mean,
correct.
Okay. Just
no, you guys are doing the presentation.
No, I was just I was trying to envision what that looked like. So thank you. Okay.
No, yeah, it would be us, and then us presenting in front of the planning commission and us presenting in front of the joint hearing as well. I think the county it'll be an interesting process with the joint hearing, and that it all happens the same night, but the county will go before us, so it'll all happen in one meeting. Don't need to give an update on annexation or Northwest Park because you heard about that tonight. Dark skies, we're continuing work. I have the fortune of having a great group of volunteers to help with this implementation. Some of the same folks that were involved with getting the ordinance and the designation done. So they are continuing to be helpful in implementing the ordinance. One of the next steps is to split up the community and do an audit to kind of figure out where the problem areas are. And they're doing that the last couple of weeks. And we'll get together and kind of compare notes. And that might be an opportunity to pair some areas that need work with our rebate program. Rebate program, we got about 4 applications, so it's coming out slowly, but there are some moving through the process, and one has already been installed and approved and has applied for their rebate check. So it's moving along, but we'd like it to move along at a little bit more rapid of a pace. So thought that this would be a good way to connect people whose lighting may be out of compliance with this rebate opportunity.
Maybe with the warmer weather, it'll pick up.
Hopefully, yeah. Housekeeping amendment, one of the next planning commission tasks is to review a set of housekeeping amendments to the development code. We're signing that to Sarah Val, our new planner. That's her chance to get some presentation experience, and she'll be in front of the council after that. And a good way to kind of tune up the planning commission to public hearings, some low stakes public hearing experience before some bigger projects come through. Burn barrel open burning, we got that on the schedule to take a look at that in May to consider changes to that.
Yeah, I can't wait to have it legal so I can burn as much as I want.
I've already got my barrels ready.
Yeah, I got barrels.
Get it while you can.
They're big
I
plastic.
hear they don't burn though.
What's that?
So we're also continuing to hold pre-applications. There's still folks that are considering development of a substantial scale, and so that's good to know, but we never know if those materialize into actual applications, so we'll wait to see on that. And then we just continue to get partitions and lot line adjustments and conditional uses, minor conditional uses, things of that nature to keep things fairly busy, but certainly not what it was like a year or two ago as far as volume. But that's about it. Any questions?
No, I think we're good. Looks
Okay.
like it. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
All right, time to go.
And on to Councilor Business. Anyone would like to go first? I can if you want. Mix it up. Let's go crazy. And
Let's get wild.
yeah, in the last 2 weeks, let's see, in no particular order, we have the monthly wildfire meeting with our wildfire partners here that we host. And yeah, we talked about the burn barrel situation. Councilor McDougall brought that up, our bonfire policy that we might want to
look at.
Well,
yeah,
very closely. And also, if, we have further discussions on air curtain burners. Somebody from Republic Services who has a little bit more experience with them came in and presented more on that. So the discussions have been really, I think, helpful because it has been, there's devils in details, and these details are starting to come out on issues around, costs and what burns well, what doesn't, and DEQ permits, good locations for them, things like that. So, as with anything, there's no silver bullet, but the one thing is that I think because it's spring and clearly it's already fire season, so there is a fire awareness fair in Prineville on April 11th. However, they're going to be doing a air curtain burner demonstration there, and that's open to the public. And so we're on that email list, but we got a note about that, so we could send that to the rest of the council in case anybody wants to go over and check that out. So wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. And yeah, Ben Duda was there with the Deschutes County Emergency Services. They're still kind of working hard on refining an alert system that kind of works for everything and everyone, which is quite an impossible task. Wildfires are one of our biggest concerns, but obviously there's all sorts of different emergencies. And, it still sounds like they're gonna roll out the high-low siren. When there's an event and law enforcement needs to come through and get your attention or get you to evacuate, there's a high-low siren that they have that I think they're going to start a information PR project around that soon. We've been promised, so listen for that. And also Discover Your Northwest and Leadership Bends, which is kind of our sister program to the CLA, or Civic Leadership Academy. Their project is kind of working on a messaging project for tourists, STR users, about evacuations and things like that, which is great because I know it's been a concern for ours, and Scott Humpert's haven't quite had the bandwidth to work on that. So hopefully they can kind of come up with a process that we can maybe duplicate here in Sisters and not have to reinvent the wheel. Also had a discussion on some issues that Councilor Pellerin brought up with the Oregon State Parks property that's along Highway 126, just behind us here, and just kind of threw it out there for discussion to kind of alert people it wasn't the best attended meeting that we usually, there was a couple of players, I think, who had probably something to say about that project, or that concern, who weren't in attendance this month, but.
Could be a dead deer depository.
This is true.
I know where it is.
Right near Councilor Pellerin's house. Awesome.
I attended the superintendent's coffee, which was great to see the superintendent back hosting those again. Usual information of, struggling with budgets. They're still having to, deal with the PERS roll-up, which will impact them for probably 3 or 4 years, next 3 years at least. Thankfully, they bonded against that years ago, and it is not impacting our school district nearly as bad as some other school districts. We're having to make, massive cuts. They did mention that with Heart of Oregon Corps moving out of the Cloverdale property that the school district owned, they were wanting to let go of that asset, and they found out that there was a rider in the original property transaction from many years ago that the previous owner could purchase the property, first right of refusal. Previous owner said that they would, in fact, purchase the property back. The property is in not good condition, lots of maintenance issues, which I think the school district was not looking forward to addressing or fixing, or having the money or the bandwidth to do. So they were able to, I think, transfer the property, or in the process of transferring the property for $150,000 to the school district. So that kind of, in their minds, was a win-win. And they are obviously still working on the partition of the lot next to SPRD that they're hoping to do something with. Sell, or, I think their desire would be housing. How much they and the board want to lean in on that, that's to be determined. Attended the Deschutes County Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee meeting. I think just one interesting takeaway or one challenge from Commute Options, which is a commute options nonprofit based in Bend, and they're hosting their Get There Challenge Business Edition, April 13th through 26th. I will try to get some information to staff, because I think that staff could be highly competitive, being that we have a lot of people that walk or use the bus to get to work here. So, or challenging people that might be able to commute or carpool, and then you log your commutes, and there are prizes. And usually in the past, when I've done this with organizations, you can also challenge another organization. So I will send you more information on that.
We're always up for a challenge.
Yeah. And then I attended, as well as Sarah and Cheryl, the Age-Friendly Forum. So I think we might have a little bit to say about that, so I won't talk too much. I was at we were all kind of at different breakout tables, good presentation. My breakout table was about connecting services, and I had a good conversation with the people at our table about that, realizing that there are a lot of services available out there for seniors, and it's more of an education and kind of connecting people to them. So, definitely more discussion around that, of like, who could be that point person, where, what entity would that person be? Would that be a government agency? Would that be a nonprofit? But obviously we don't have to build everything from the ground up. A lot of this is just getting people connected to what's already existing in Central Oregon services. So, and then also somebody had mentioned that they want a dog park, and I yelled across the room that they are getting a dog park soon. So solve that problem.
It's only 6 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's where you park your dog.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for me. Who would like to go next?
I just quickly, you heard me talk a little bit about the Parks Board meeting, so I won't go too much detail on the plan, which was the main topic. However, one of the things talking about the property across the street where SPRD is, in the triangular section, and splitting that off, and many people weren't aware that was happening. They thought it was all part of the property. And one of the suggestions I had is that we look to devote a significant portion of at least half or longer of the Parks Board meeting sometime to Jennifer, and let her come in and explain how special districts work, how why we have this working relationship with the city, and if we provide the parks, they provide the services, and how we work cooperatively together, and also talk about how they're restricted funding-wise and what that means to them. Because I think at some point they're going to be faced with the issue of, do we create a new special district at a higher tax rate, dissolve the existing special district, which is what you have to do under state law. And having more information with the Parks Board and those advocates out there when that starts to happen can only be to their benefit. So she thought that was a very good idea, and I think that we'll probably have that on a topic somewhere where we have a light meeting so that people can understand, because unless you've really been through it and know how it works, it's all mystery.
Let's make sure everybody knows it's Jennifer Holland from the Executive Director of SPRD. The thing I like to point out is SPRD Parks is right in the name, so maybe she needs to be an advisory person on the board more often than once or twice.
She sits at every meeting.
Oh, good. There you go. See, my idea works already.
Yep.
Oh, boy. Hold on.
Well, I knew you
Thank
might
you.
say that, so we just put her on.
Yeah, I know. That was my idea years ago, I think.
Yep. No.
Anyway.
All right, end of report?
End of report.
Go ahead.
Yes, attended the Serving Our Sisters Community Forum, and I thought it was fantastic. As you may have heard, Serving Our Sisters, their scope was to have these listening sessions, to share the information, to understand where we have gaps in resources and what resources we have for seniors. And then that's it. So Sunday was kind of the culmination of all that work and the presentation of that, and then the breakout groups like Mayor Letts explained. But the next day, they said, hey, we're going to meet at the hub and do a deeper dive to see if maybe we can keep the traction going, keep the momentum going. So I attended that, and there was about 15 of us that volunteered to come there and say, now what? And I thought it was really effective. We took some items that we heard the most about, which was a senior resource center, connecting seniors with resources, housing was the other one. I suggested we all take action items, go out into subcommittees and meet again in a month and see what we found out. One of the ideas I shared was we've already got the Family Access Network, FAN, which is very effective with connecting resources with families with children. So couldn't we duplicate that model for seniors? And Jennifer and I are talking about calling it SAN instead of FAN. But there are ideas out there that already exist and models that already exist that perhaps we could leverage. Someone did volunteer. They're very interested in Eastside Village, it was called, and this is actually an idea, or it actually exists. It's a co-op where seniors can join it. In fact, I don't think there was an age limit, but seniors can join that, and they get up to 3, what do you call it, tickets or services a month. For example, for a certain membership fee, they can have somebody come out, a contractor come out and rake their yard, and that's their one of the 3 for the month or the year. I don't know the whole model, but the idea is really, really intriguing, and somebody did volunteer to say they were very interested in pursuing that further and trying to get that going here in town. And that's another great idea. Already had conversations with SBRD around a senior resource center or physical place where they can go, play cards, socialize. Socializing is very important to health, and SPRD is open to discussing that further. So very excited to hear that this is not finished yet. So I just want to give a shout out to the 4 wonderful volunteers here that started SOS, and thank them publicly here: Chris Lang, Sue Stafford, Jane Paxson, and Chris Bergstrom, for being what I call the SOS warriors, and thank them for being such active members of our community and caring for our aging. I also attended COIC, and 2 items there, several items, but I'll just bring up 2 of them. One is you recall Bob Townsend was here, talked about CET implementing fares. That went into effect February 1st. They have seen a drop in ridership. As a result of that, not necessarily a bad thing. So they're going to continue to monitor that, and it might give them opportunity to bring in more routes as a result of this. So it's shifting a bit, but so far so good. And as he had reported, there are fair discounts for veterans, military, active military, people with disabilities, people 60 and over. So there's quite a few reduction fare qualifications that could be taken advantage of too.
Is regular fare $1 or $2, something like that?
I don't remember the exact amount, what it ended up being.
And they do reduction fares by a card, right? Isn't it like a card?
Yeah, they have an app.
Yeah.
And COIC was awarded a grant in partnership with Northwest Housing Alternatives to install solar and battery storage at Trinity Place, which we will be going to tomorrow, right? So good news there. That's an item connected to us here locally through COIC. And then Councilor Preeden and I went to Boxkill, which is a business here in town that is working on a pretty amazing concept to kind of change the way we construct homes and bend the traditional way of building homes to something more affordable. They actually have a full-scale model now, and I thought it was really interesting that they took advantage of kind of space maneuvering and sharing of things with the space literally like the bed lifting up and out of the way, so then you've got space during the day. It was, I think, 200 square feet, Michael,
it was two 10 by 20 pieces, so.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah, it's 200 square feet, yeah.
And instead of being like, if you think like an RV, I kind of felt like I was in a nice RV, which is typically a rectangular shape. This is squared, right? So it felt more like a home. And so we're really hoping to see more progress there. They're working hard to get more interested parties for funding and so forth. And
I think the word that best describes it is modular.
Modular, yeah.
It's obviously pre-manufactured, so you can just drop it. And I'm going to say more about it as well.
Yeah, please do, because
I will.
I appreciate your design experience and so forth. And then Urban Forestry Board, Arbor Day, April 24th. Bring your shovels. That's Friday at noon at SPRD. We will be planting trees. Please join.
It's one of my favorite things that I've ever done on this is just go dig holes with the kids.
Yeah.
They love it. Doesn't matter.
Little watering cans.
Yeah, watering
That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
And as Carrie mentioned, the CLA Academy, the Academy Selection Committee, really impressed with the number of applicants, and they weren't repeat applicants from prior years. I was wondering if maybe they didn't get in last year, they're applying again. Another batch, a brand new batch of 21 more people that are interested in as young as 16 on up.
Good.
So really excited about that. That's it.
That's one of those programs that I'd like to memorialize in the budget as well, to be honest with you. So just putting it out there. The money obviously we can still go for grants and stuff, but if we budget it, it's going to happen every year, and it produces just the best people. Weren't you in there with the first one?
No, I was on the C4C board.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I was on the first CLA.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. You guys are just twins.
So this is the third one.
Right.
And I think we already know we're going to do a fourth.
Yeah.
So after that, we
I'm
might
just
want to
let's just put it in the budget. If we get grants for it, okay, we can use that somewhere else. But so we have I have three things I want to, that I'm interested in.
Just a quick comment on the CLA too, is that, we're turning out leaders that go to every organization in this community.
Yeah, all over the place.
Yeah, so it's you kind of think about it, well, kind of getting people ready to do what we do, but the reality is, no, we're getting people ready to go everywhere and serve the community in a variety of different ways based on their skill set and their interests, which is what I think is a strong point of it.
And if they're not, we'll get Carrie on them for not doing it.
We want want to
I'm
report
kidding.
in a year
Yeah.
after you graduate.
Must do something. No. Are you done?
Yes, I am.
Can I go next since I did the box kill with, that was Monday last week. I want to talk about Thursday, 2 weeks ago, which was, I missed an Explore Sisters meeting because I had some work to do. So I'm sorry about that. I did apologize to the board, and I ran into Brady, the board chair, over at his restaurant, which is Ski Inn. And he's like, man, I appreciate that email. So it's good to send an email if you're not going to make it, right? Good thing. I did pub talk that same night, which was the night after the last city council meeting. That's an EDCO event where they have people come present, and it's a great networking opportunity. And it was so well represented by sisters, I was just stunned. I mean, I just saw people that I've known for years there.
It was in Bend, wasn't it?
It was in Bend. It's usually in Bend. It comes here usually like once every year or 2 years or something. The food was by Lucky's Woodsman, so I was very familiar with that. And it's just really fun to get out there and network a little bit. It's a great networking opportunity. And every time I go, I see Roger Lee, who's the old executive director of EDCO as well. Nothing wrong with John Stark. He's doing a great job. But now I'll talk about Box Kill. I did that Monday last week. And it's really amazing that we got two sisters guys that have been here for a long time, and they're just entrepreneurs, and they were in on Laird, and we're very disappointed that didn't work out for longer than it did because they were in on it at the beginning, and it wasn't their fault that it went away. They just helped start it, and things happen. So they're doing Box Kill, and they've got a lot of their own money into it, and they're stretching their dollars every day. And here's this modular little house that you could sit on the property and live in it, and it's got everything you need. Everything, in very little space. Everything is dual purpose, lifts up, moves, windows. It's great. I highly recommend doing that if you get invited to Box Kill. They're great guys.
So just to confirm, so it would hook into sewer and water?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would just come out the bottom and connect.
Okay.
And it's ready for power, it's ready for water, it's ready for sewer. So.
Okay. I thought so. I just wanted to.
Yeah. It comes on a metal frame, so you do have to literally crane it and drop it. And all I could think about while I was there is, yeah, this is cool, but my brain kept going, how do we maximize this, right? And I think that as a community, Sisters needs to take the lead again one more time and start looking at housing types again and go, let's make this easier for people like this to help house people that we have. And it doesn't, there's no such thing as bad housing. I don't care if it's on wheels, I don't care if it's a hut, there's housing needs of all sizes and shapes. And I think the transitional bottom housing, which I'm only saying bottom ends in size in general, and flexibility, like cottages, this modular that they're doing, manufactured homes, houses on wheels, boutique trailer living, yurts. I think we need to come up with a new housing type, and I don't know what it is. I don't have the answer. But I can see the solution at the end, and we just have to go from where we're at to get to the solution, which is let's be a little more nimble in our housing types and allow people to go clunk. And as long as it passes all state code and stuff, we should do that. And if we have to do it first because there's nobody else doing it, I'm okay with doing that. And I really want to charge all of us, for as long as we're on council, to think about that and to find just more ways to put a roof over people's heads. That's it. And it's not going to cure homelessness, but it could help. It could certainly help. And we don't have enough transitional housing. It's hard to go from the forest or a car to the next place. That's the hardest part. That's the biggest step.
Yep.
And we need to just create as many options as possible. That's all. We don't have to solve it. You just create the option and other people will do it.
Did they, have they looked into financing yet? Like, are their products financeable?
Yeah, they're looking to scale. And they have really good ideas how to scale, but you can't scale something that doesn't exist. And so they're putting a lot of their own money into this prototype.
Yeah, I just mean,
Yeah.
if one wanted to buy it, I know it's still early in the process, but if
Yeah.
one wanted to buy one, I don't know what the cost projection is, but, yeah, I mean, just, banks and certain entities will and won't
They're,
do loans for certain things, so.
I think they're really leaning on efficiency and scaling. And, the first one's the most expensive one. The next 10 are a level down from that. And then once you get it going and they have processes, and I'm sure they would just love to do it right here in Sisters if they could have enough manufacturing space. And once you get efficiencies where you're not buying one piece of trim, you're buying 1,000 pieces of trim and cutting it and putting it in 10 of them at a time. They want to get to a point where they can, it's kind of proprietary. They want to build them faster, obviously.
Yeah.
And they have a couple of goals in mind of how many they want to build in time frames.
But I think.
But you have to sell one.
The important question is, are they looking to whether or not a typical mortgage underwriter would allow you to pull a mortgage on one of these? That really is the question. That I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great idea. And the modular concept, the beauty of that is that you can, once you start production, you make things work, you can design different types of modules that go into that piece. So you need something that somebody else doesn't need. Well, we got that right here.
You need a line, and then you have options, and that option is menu priced. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, we'll pull one off the line and go fix it up where they've thought about that for sure. Yeah. I think they're very smart guys, so.
Just got a peek proof on it.
Yeah, I would go see them.
Yeah,
what was it?
I want to go see them. I couldn't make the Monday, but I think we just talked to Eric.
Yeah, just talk to Eric.
Yeah.
Edco. Eric.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
And he'll organize that for you.
Yeah.
But I was just so impressed because a year ago, January, I went there and they had a model. It was about this big, right? And now here we are looking at literally the 200 square foot reality. So these guys are moving quickly, considering the fact that they are putting their own money into this, and they're having to take breaks to go work to get money and come back and work on it. So
and they made a few art pieces. They're I don't know which one or both or metal workers, but they have like a
we'll have to get that maybe on one of our pedestals.
Yeah, I would love to do that. So anyway, that was really cool, encouraging, and very sisters-like. That's a sisters way. Last thing, I've got an EDCO regional meeting in Prineville at 8:30 tomorrow. I have been doing the Revenue Task Force Subcommittee, which is finding different ways that EDCO could create revenue in different ways. We're presenting to the regional board tomorrow. We've met 3 times on Zoom, and we have 6 items, plus another whole ideation page of just not even fleshed out ideas to present to the whole regional board, which is kind of cool. And then we're breaking out in sessions. We're doing some breakout sessions. Not only that, but there's 3 other subcommittees that they're considering to create to take the weight off the big board, because a big board's kind of inefficient, you know what I mean? And it's just a bunch of people from different areas, and we only get together once every 6 weeks or whatever. So EDCO's evolving in a lot of ways. We've seen it in their delivery, and Eric's expanded, and he's doing things that weren't traditional EDCO models, but now the whole EDCO model is changing along with it somehow, and they have to. And we have to be as good as possible, because we're 47th in the state right now, and there's not one solution to fix that. It's got to be a lot of solutions. There's a lot of state solutions that have to be done, but EDCO itself has to run leaner and meaner, but at the same time provide more services. Kind of weird, but that's just how it's going. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow. And I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Sarah? Okay.
Check. Oh.
So I guess really, so right after the last council meeting, Jordan put it in his status report, so I just want to say I got to do something really cool, and that was go and attend a surprise for a family who did not know that they were had been chosen to get the first-story house. So a first-story house is built by Hayden. It's their affordable housing unit, and the family that was living in one in Sisters bought a market rate house in Sisters, And so they are going to redo the house, and this family that we were surprising will get the first story house. So this is kind of why it is, at least for ongoing 30 years, they continue to remake the affordable piece. So one family moved on to market rate housing, and another family is moving in, and yeah, so that was just a lovely experience, kind of seeing affordable housing in action. And then this couple was there, and they were yeah, definitely taken aback. I don't know, I wanted to share that first, because after that, kind of spent the last couple weeks, feels like going to houseless activities, which I actually really enjoy, but it's a little less uplifting sometimes. I went to a forum last Tuesday night in Bend, Understanding Homelessness in Central Oregon, and they do a really good job. It's kind of a new organization. They did a forum last year, and this year they had the Homeless Leadership Coalition speak and explain what the HLC is. And if you all ever want to talk about this stuff and hear a lot more details, I'd be happy to share. Otherwise, no, I'm out there learning about this. HLC is our continuum of care, which is required by HUD to have. So they just kind of have to manage all the different pieces. And then there was a presentation where people who have gone through safe parking, and into housing. One person had gone into permanent supportive housing at Cleveland Commons, which is a fairly new apartment building in Bend, and another person, is out on her own now. And then there's also all kinds of support partners in the church before and after the forum. And I had a chance to talk to someone who actually, surprise, came to our partnership meeting here in Sisters today, and he runs the oh goodness, my brain is starting to, it's like, wow, I shouldn't have gone last. He runs the shelter that Neighbor Impact runs for the city of Bend on Division Street. And we got to talking, and I don't know how this came up, but in 3 minutes we were discussing this, and sometimes we hear that people don't want to be housed. I don't want to go into housing. And he turned me around so quickly without trying to force his thoughts on me. But one of the things when we hear that, what people can be saying is, I'm afraid of the rules. I haven't lived with these rules for so long that I'm not sure I can show up and do this. And so he was talking about how they support people through that transition. And he used this example again this morning, but there was someone who is medically vulnerable who came in just in the last couple of weeks, and needed to have a procedure done and had to have somewhere to go and heal. And so they're working with this gentleman through his mistakes. And is it bad that someone makes mistakes? No, but there has to be a place for someone to go make those mistakes. And that's why sometimes the transition can be hard between just trying to lift up a human who has lived in the forest for many years, or even 6 months, to get that mental transition back into what you and I might think is an easy place to live. So that was very interesting, and I was thrilled to see him and Carly, I forget last names, here back presenting this morning to the Houseless Partnership Group. Let me see. A couple other things that have happened. I went on an SELI ride-along last week, and one of the things I did want to report back is that there was one camp in particular that has repetitively kind of been cleaned up and then the person who lives there, you know, is a hoarder person, and so it gets bad again, that gets cleaned up. So, you know, I wanted to report back that Forest Service law enforcement officers are coming in those situations and ticketing, and also our sheriff's office is going in and ticketing. Like, there is work being done out there by the Forest Service and the sheriff's office to move people along. I mean, not everybody, I mean, they have to work within parameters, but I just wanted to let you all know that it's not just stagnant out there. It's not just people, you know, going out and like our team going out and having conversations. I mean, there's actually movement to try to move people who can't manage their camps along.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
Because I did
Yeah.
I did one last or 2 weeks ago, and I think the most important part for people to know is they're being engaged in the proper way. If they're being really nutty or whatever with their trash, they're getting cited. They get warned first. It's not like they just go cite them. You know, we're engaging them often enough that people know what they need to do, and some of them do and some of them don't. If they don't, you have to give them a little nudge. Sometimes that's a ticket, and then sometimes it's a couple of tickets, and it's all done out of compassion. There's nobody that goes out into the forest to engage those people that are doing it in any mean way or whatsoever. It's just to encourage them to be a good citizen like everybody else. They just happen to not have a home. So, and it's really important that people in the community know that. They're not just awful people out in the forest wanting to start fires. They're not. They might start a fire accidentally, and it's a worry. For sure, it's always a worry. But it's also a worry for one of us to do it as well. It's not just homeless people that start fires. Fires start all over the place. So, anyway, that's my piggyback. Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I did want to let you know, the question was asked this morning as to far as when we do get numbers from the pit count, what does sisters mean? And the answer to that was pretty much a 5-mile radius from the city, you know, so that they didn't, people who were counting houseless people or people in shelters, et cetera, did not go out farther than 5 miles. So that's just an FYI.
So that would also include like by the rodeo grounds, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think they go in the back. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's included as sisters.
Yes.
Not. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they did go 5 miles in every direction, but that's the approximate.
Okay.
Yeah. Because that question comes up, like, well, what do you mean by sisters?
I have that question on occasion.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
No, absolutely. And the last thing, Carrie was mentioning, we had our CROW meeting, which is a Coordinated Houseless Response Office meeting on Monday, and we got to vote on how to spend some money that has just been sitting in a bucket. This is not repeatable money. And I think this is an important piece of housing houseless, is that there are a lot of organizations trying to keep people in housing, trying to keep them from, you know, missing that last utility bill or missing that last month's rent. And, you know, that showed up in this funding we were able to give away. And that is, you know, as much of a priority for some of the houseless groups as it is actually serving people who have already become houseless. Sure. So it's just something to keep in mind, that it's, you know, it's helping vulnerable people. I could talk all day about this.
Can I ask how much that was?
Oh yeah, sure. It was $137,000.
Nice.
Yeah, and the type of help it is Sun River La Pine has a Habitat for Humanity who does house repairs, and they said that the average repair is about $750. So it would be like the leak that's going to make you leave your house because it's going to be uninhabitable. It's not like going in and, you know, redoing the house or anything. So, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
All right, thank you. Thank you all, and this meeting is adjourned.
All right.